The chevron locks echoed through the Cheyenne Mountain gate room with mechanical precision. 1, 2, 3 each clanged a countdown to something no one at Stargate Command could have anticipated. Alarm klaxons shrieked as the seventh chevron slammed into place, and the wormhole erupted outward in its characteristic burst of energy before settling into the shimmering blue event horizon that connected worlds across the galaxy. But this time, something was different. The gate's inner ring began spinning again, locking additional chevrons in a sequence that shouldn't have been possible with a standard 7-symbol address. 8th chevron encoded! Major Samantha Carter shouted from her monitoring station, her voice cutting through the controlled chaos of the control room. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up readings that made no sense. Sir, this is an intergalactic connection, but not from any address we've ever dialed. The energy signature is off the charts 20 times normal gate activity. General George. Hammond stood at the observation window, his weathered face grim as he watched his gate room personnel scramble to their defensive positions. P-90s were raised, aimed at the active Stargate as the event horizon rippled with unusual intensity. How is that possible, Major? We didn't dial out, and incoming traffic shouldn't be able to establish a connection through our iris without a proper IDC. The iris isn't engaging, sir. The technician's voice cracked with tension. Something's overriding our systems. The gate is drawing power from an external source. I've never seen anything like this. Through the active wormhole, something massive began to emerge. Not a person. Not a MILP. Something that made the reinforced walls of the gate room tremble with its passage. A metallic object the size of a small building pushed through the event horizon, its surface gleaming with an alloy that reflected the wormhole's blue light in fractured patterns. Ancient symbols covered its exterior alongside markings in a language that was distinctly not Goa'uld. Not ancient, and certainly not of any civilization the SGC had encountered in their years of gate travel. It's some kind of device. Carter called out, her scientific curiosity warring with tactical concern. Scanning now, it's not a bomb, but it's radiating energy on frequencies that match ancient technology. Sir, I think this is a beacon. The device settled on the gate room floor with a heavy thud that cracked the concrete. Its surface began to glow with orange holographic projections that spiraled upward, and a voice emanated from its core, artificial, precise, and speaking English with perfect clarity. Attention, unidentified facility. This is an automated message from the UNSC Infinity, currently in emergency transit through unknown spatial anomaly. We are transmitting fleet-wide IFF signatures and requesting immediate communication with local governing authority. Our arrival was not hostile in nature. This beacon contains linguistic data and preliminary first contact protocols. Please respond on attached frequencies. Infinity Actual standing by. The gate room fell silent, except for the hum of the device and the low throb of the still active Stargate. Hammond's eyes narrowed as he processed what he'd just heard, United Nations space. Command words that made sense individually but combined into something that should have been impossible. The United Nations didn't have a space command. Certainly not one capable of intergalactic travel through technology that could override Stargate Command's most sophisticated security measures. Major Carter, get Daniel Jackson and Teal'c down here immediately, Hammond ordered, his command voice steady despite the unprecedented situation. And someone shut down that gate before. The wormhole pulsed with another massive surge of energy. The chevrons locked again in a sequence that bypassed every protocol the SGC had established. Through the event horizon, something infinitely larger than the beacon began to manifest. The holographic projections from the device suddenly expanded, displaying what could only be a warning: massive objects in transit, recommendations for immediate evacuation of the surrounding area, and schematics of vessels that dwarfed anything in Earth's current naval inventory. Colonel Jack O'Neill burst into the control room, still fastening his tactical vest as he took in the scene below. Okay, I leave for one lunch break, and we're getting mystery packages from the cosmic version of UPS? Someone want to explain what UNSC stands for, and why they're reusing our gate like a garage door? No, Colonel, Hammond replied, gesturing to the readings that Carter was frantically analyzing. But whatever they are, they're about to send something through that gate that our facility was never designed to accommodate. Major, can you shut it down? Carter's fingers flew across her keyboard, executing emergency shutdown protocols that should have severed the gate's connection immediately. Nothing happened. The wormhole remained stable, drawing power from that external source that her instruments couldn't even begin to measure. Negative, sir. They've somehow established a sustained connection that's immune to our interrupt commands. It's like they've hacked the Stargate itself using ancient-level encryption. Through the event horizon, the first shape began to emerge. It was a ship, no question about that, but unlike any vessel Earth had ever constructed or encountered. Its bow pushed through the wormhole at an angle, revealing a hull of titanium gray armor plating that seemed to drink in the light rather than reflect it. Red and white markings designated sections in that same unknown language, and as more of the vessel materialized into the gate room, impossibly defying every law of physics that governed Stargate travel, the personnel below began to fall back in controlled retreat. "That's a warship," O'Neill observed with the kind of calm that came from years of facing the impossible. "And unless I'm very wrong, it's human. Look at those design elements, angular, efficient, military pragmatism written all over it. That's not Goa'uld smooth curves or ancient elegance. That's something built by people who expect to get shot at." The vessel, a frigate, based on its configuration, continued its transit through the Stargate in segments, each section materializing as the wormhole cycled through a rapid-fire sequence of connections and disconnections that would have been lethal to biological matter. But this was engineered transport, something that treated the Stargate not as a mystical ancient artifact, but as a tool to be mastered and exploited. The frigate's full 300-meter length now occupied the gate room and extended into the corridors beyond, its hull having materialized through solid mountain rock using a technology that made Carter's widen with the implications. "They're phasing matter during transport," she breathed, her voice carrying the kind of awe reserved for breakthrough discoveries. "Somehow they're reusing the gate to create a selective field that allows their ships to materialize without displacing the surrounding environment. Sir, this is beyond our current understanding of wormhole physics." The beacon's holographic display updated with new information. More ships were coming. Many more. The gate began its sequence again, and this time a destroyer pushed through longer, more heavily armed, its hull studded with weapons batteries that would have made the Prometheus look like a patrol boat. Then another frigate. Then another destroyer. Each vessel materialized with that same impossible phasing technology, their hulls occupying spaces that shouldn't have been able to contain them, the mountain itself seeming to accommodate their presence through means that defied conventional three-dimensional thinking. Teal'c arrived in the control room, his symbiote pouch glowing beneath his shirt as his immune system reacted to the unprecedented energy signatures flooding the facility. Daniel Jackson was right behind him, adjusting his glasses as he stared at the fleet that was systematically manifesting inside and around Cheyenne Mountain. Jack?" Daniel's voice carried that particular tone that meant he was about to say something no one wanted to hear. "I don't think those ships are coming through the Stargate. I think they're using the gate as an anchor point to fold space around themselves. Look at the way the mountain's structure is rippling on those monitors. They're not displacing matter. They're temporarily rewriting local spacetime to accommodate their presence." "I understood maybe 3 words of that," O'Neill replied. "But I'm going to assume it means we now have a fleet of unknown human warships sitting inside our top-secret military installation, and we should probably figure out if they're here to say hello or blow up the planet." The beacon's transmission updated once more, and this time the message carried a different weight. "Fleet transit complete. UNSC Battle Group Echo Alpha 7 has successfully navigated spatial anomaly. 31 vessels now in position around coordinates designated as arrival site. Infinity preparing to dispatch first contact team to local authority. Please acknowledge and provide landing coordinates for diplomatic shuttle. We come in peace, but we are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary. Spartans are standing by." Hammond's jaw tightened. 31 warships. An entire battle fleet had just materialized in Earth orbit using technology that shouldn't exist, claiming to be human, and now they wanted to send armed personnel Spartans, whatever those were, down to have a conversation. This was either first contact with a parallel human civilization that had somehow developed interstellar travel independently, or the most elaborate Goa'uld deception the system lords had ever orchestrated. "Open a channel to that beacon," Hammond ordered. "Let us find out exactly who the UNSC thinks they are and why they've chosen today to introduce themselves. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below." Indeed, as the communication channel opened and Carter began establishing two-way contact with the mysterious fleet that now surrounded Earth, none of them could have known that this moment would fundamentally alter humanity's place in the galaxy. The Goa'uld were about to discover that Earth had suddenly gained allies with technology and military doctrine forged in a war that made the System Lord's petty territorial disputes look like playground squabbles. And Master Chief Petty Officer John 117, standing ready in Infinity's deployment bay with his Spartan fire team, was about to step into a universe where ancient alien parasites claimed godhood and humans fought back with little more than courage and salvage technology. The war for Earth's survival had just received reinforcements from across the dimensional divide. The System Lords had no idea what was coming. The Pelican dropship descended through Earth's atmosphere with the kind of controlled precision that spoke to thousands of combat insertions across hostile worlds. Its angular hull cut through the air above Colorado Springs, active camouflage rippling across its surface as UNSC sensor systems mapped every radar installation, satellite network, and defense grid within a 1,000-kilometer radius. The locals had primitive detection capabilities, roughly equivalent to 21st century Earth technology by UNSC historical records, but the energy signatures coming from the mountain facility below told a different story entirely. Inside the Pelican's troop bay, Master Chief stood motionless in his Mjolnir Mark VI armor, the green and gold plating reflecting the red interior lighting as his HUD processed tactical data, streaming from Infinity's Zest battle network. 4 other Spartans flanked him. Linda 058 with her sniper rifle mag-locked to her back. Fred 104 running systems checks on his assault rifle. Kelly 087 reviewing approach vectors with the kind of restless energy that came from being the fastest Spartan in the program, and a Marine fire team that looked distinctly uncomfortable sharing space with humanity's most lethal soldiers. Cortana, analysis, Chief said, his voice carrying that characteristic calm that never wavered regardless of the situation. The AIS avatar flickered into existence on his HUD, her blue form cycling through data streams as she processed information from the beacon's linguistic exchanges. We're definitely dealing with humans, Chief. DNA markers in the air samples match baseline human genetics, and their language is 26th century English with some dialectical drift. But their technology is fascinating. They're using a stable wormhole device for interstellar travel, something we've theorized but never successfully implemented. The power requirements alone should be impossible with conventional reactors. Their military capabilities? Chief asked, watching the approach telemetry as the Pelican began its final descent toward the coordinates the facility had provided. Limited compared to UNSC standards, but they're survivors. The beacon intercepted their communication protocols, and I've been analyzing their database architecture. Chief? They re-at war with something called the Goa'uld parasitic organisms that take human hosts and use significantly advanced technology to subjugate populations across multiple worlds. These people have been fighting a guerrilla war against an enemy with superior firepower using salvaged alien technology and sheer tactical ingenuity. Fred's voice came across the team channel. Sounds familiar. Too familiar, Linda added quietly. Parasites, religious zealotry, technological advantage, human subjugation. Replace Goa'uld with Covenant and it's the same war we've been fighting for 30 years. The Pelican's pilot captain, Melissa Reyes, veteran of the Battle of Earth, called back from the cockpit. Spartans, we're getting painted by multiple targeting systems. Nothing that can penetrate our shields, but they're definitely nervous down there. Ground-based railguns, surface-to-air missile batteries, and something that's reading like a directed energy weapon integrated into the mountain itself. They've fortified this facility like they expect orbital bombardment. Because they do, Cortana interjected. I've accessed their historical records through the beacon's connection. This facility, Stargate Command, they call it, has been attacked by alien motherships at least 6 times in the past 5 years. They've successfully repelled every assault using a combination of that energy weapon, fighter craft, and one primitive human-built capital ship. They're outgunned and they know it, but they keep fighting anyway. Chief felt something close to respect settle into his assessment of the situation. These people were soldiers, even if their technology lagged behind UNSC standards by several centuries in some areas and inexplicably exceeded it in others. We approach as allies, not conquerors, weapons safed but ready. Standard first contact protocols. The Pelican touched down on a landing pad that hadn't existed in the mountain. Its original construction, clearly an addition made after someone realized they needed a proper way to receive aircraft that were F-15s. Rear hatch hissed open, and Chief descended the ramp with his team. their boots striking concrete as they encountered Earth's gravity for the first time in what felt like another lifetime. The welcoming committee was exactly what Chief expected. Professional soldiers with weapons raised, but not immediately threatening, taking positions that provided overlapping fields of fire while maintaining standoff distance. Smart. Disciplined. The man at the center wore a general's stars and carried himself with the bearing of someone who commanded in combat, not just from behind a desk. Flanking him were 4 individuals who represented a more interesting tactical picture. The colonel on the left had the weathered look of a special forces operator, his P90 held with casual competence and his eyes conducting the same threat assessment Chief was running. The woman beside him, blonde, Air Force insignia. Major's Oak Leaves was clearly their scientific expert, based on the tablet she carried and the way her gaze fixed on the Mjolnir armor with barely contained fascination. The civilian with glasses looked like an academic thrust into military service, his body language reading as non-combatant, but his position in the formation suggesting importance beyond combat capability. And the fourth, TLC's eyes narrowed as he studied the Spartans with an intensity that went beyond human curiosity. Chief's biosensor suite picked up unusual readings from the man's abdominal region, something living, symbiotic, generating a low-level energy signature that matched nothing in UNSC biological databases. "General Hammond," Chief said, his voice amplified slightly by his helmet's external speakers. "Master Chief Petty Officer John 117, UNSC Navy. These are Spartans Linda 058, Fred 104, and Kelly 087, along with Marine Security Detachment. On behalf of Captain Thomas Lasky and the crew of the UNSC Infinity, we here to establish diplomatic contact and determine the nature of the spatial anomaly that brought our fleet to your coordinates." Hammond's expression remained controlled, but Chief could read the tension in his stance. "Master Chief, I'm General George Hammond, Commander of Stargate Command. This is Colonel Jack O'Neill, Major Samantha Carter, Dr. Daniel Jackson, and Teal'c Chulik. I'll be honest with you, son, your arrival has raised more questions than I'm comfortable with. Starting with how a fleet of human warships I've never heard of managed to materialize inside a top-secret military facility using technology that shouldn't exist. The feeling is mutual, sir, Chief replied. Our navigation systems indicate we've traveled approximately 400 light-years from our last known position, through a spatial fold we didn't initiate. One moment we were conducting patrol operations in Sector 7. The next moment an artificial wormhole opened directly in front of our fleet and pulled us through before we could alter course. Our scientists are still analyzing the transit, but preliminary data suggests someone or something targeted us specifically. O'Neill stepped forward, his P90 lowering slightly. Okay, I'm going to skip past the part where you just casually mentioned traveling 400 light-years and focus on the important question. Are you actually human, or is this some kind of Goa'uld trick with really impressive special effects? Because we've seen some pretty convincing false flag operations over the years. Cortana's avatar appeared on Chief's shoulder-mounted holographic projector, causing several of the SGC personnel to flinch. Colonel O'Neill, I'm Cortana, an AI integrated with Master Chief's combat system. I can provide complete genetic profiles, historical records, and technological specifications to verify our claims. We are human Homo sapiens originating from Earth, though our Earth appears to be from a different timeline or parallel dimension based on the astronomical data we've collected since arrival. Your year is 2002 by our historical reckoning, correct? Carter's eyes widened. You have functional artificial intelligence? Fully autonomous, self-aware eye that can interact in real time? That alone is decades beyond our current capabilities. Even with the ancient technology we've recovered. The ancients? Cortana's avatar tilted her head with curiosity. I've been analyzing the technology you used to establish contact with our beacon. The wormhole physics are elegant, far more sophisticated than anything in UNSC databases. Daniel Jackson spoke up, his academic instincts overriding military protocol. We didn't design it. The ancients, a race of humans who evolved millions of years ago, built the Stargate network and seeded it across the galaxy before they ascended to a higher plane of existence. We're just using their technology, trying to understand it and defend ourselves from the threats we encounter on the other side. Chief processed that information while his HUD displayed tactical updates from Infinity. The fleet had established orbital positions that provided complete coverage of Earth's surface. Sensor networks were mapping the planet's defense infrastructure. and Captain Lasky was receiving preliminary reports from science teams analyzing the anomaly. They were stuck here at least temporarily, and these people represented the local power structure. Building an alliance made more strategic sense than establishing occupation, especially when the Covenant could potentially follow them through whatever had brought them here. General Hammond, Chief said, I recommend we move this conversation somewhere more secure. My AI has detected multiple satellite reconnaissance passes over this facility, and some of those satellites aren't broadcasting identification signals consistent with your nation's technology. Either you have neighbors who are very curious about our arrival, or you have hostile intelligence services monitoring this location. Teal'c's expression remained impassive, but his voice carried weight when he spoke. The Goa'uld have spy satellites in orbit around Earth. They monitor our activities and report our defensive capabilities to the system lords. Your fleet's arrival will be known to them within hours, if they have not already dispatched scouts to investigate. The Goa'uld, Fred repeated over the team channel. Cortana, priority analysis on threat profile. Working on it, the AI responded. But from what I'm hearing, Chief, I think we just jumped from one war with alien parasites into another. The Covenant tried to exterminate humanity because of religious doctrine. These Goa'uld seem to be doing it for sport and ego. I'm not sure which is worse. Hammond gestured toward the mountain facility. Master Chief, I think you're right. We have a briefing room where we can discuss this situation properly and where my people can. Try to explain why your fleet's arrival might have just started an interstellar incident that could get Earth invaded by beings who think they re gods. Let's go inside, and someone get me every available intelligence asset we have on System Lord fleet movements. If the Goa'uld are going to react to our new arrivals, I want to know about it before they dial the gate. As the two groups moved toward the facility entrance, Chief ran tactical simulations in the background of his mind. Parasitic aliens, guerrilla warfare, human populations scattered across multiple worlds through ancient wormhole technology, and an enemy that possessed significant technological advantages but could be defeated through superior tactics and firepower. The UNSC had fought this war before against the Covenant. The difference was that this time, humanity had Spartans, a full battle fleet, and 5 centuries of military evolution on their side. The Goa'uld were about to discover that the humans of this Earth were no longer alone, and the system lords had never faced an enemy like the United Nations Space Command. The briefing room 28 levels beneath Cheyenne Mountain had never felt quite so crowded. Master Chief stood at ease near the wall, his 7-foot armored frame too large for the standard issue chairs, while Linda, Fred, and Kelly took positions that provided overlapping sightlines to all entrances pure. Spartan tactical instinct overriding the supposedly friendly environment. The Marine detachment waited outside, and Cortana's avatar flickered on the holographic projector Carter had hastily rigged to interface with UNSC technology, her presence drawing fascinated stares from every SGC technician in the room. Hammond sat at the head of the conference table, his weathered hands folded as he studied the Spartans with the kind of assessment reserved for weapons that could either save or doom your command. The year is 2008. The Stargate program, humanity's greatest secret, has just repelled a full-scale Ori invasion. Earth is safe, for now. But deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, an alarm blares. A massive energy signature has appeared in high orbit. It's not Goa'uld, not Wraith, not even Ori. It's something new. Something big. On the main screen of the SGC control room, General Hammond stares at the impossible. A fleet of colossal warships hangs silently in the void. They are angular, brutalist slabs of gray metal, bristling with weapons that defy conventional physics. The largest, a ship designated UNSC Infinity by its own faint transponder, is over 5 kilometers long. For comparison, the largest ship Earth has ever built, the Daedalus-class battlecruiser, is a mere 600 meters. This isn't a fleet. It's an apocalypse waiting to happen. Radio channels crackle with panicked attempts at communication, but the response from the fleet is an encrypted, indecipherable signal. Tensions are sky high. Is this an invasion? A first contact gone wrong? Before a decision can be made to engage, a single short-range transmission cuts through the static. It's a set of coordinates. Not for a location in space, but for a spot just outside Colorado Springs, and a simple message. We come in peace, requesting a diplomatic envoy. Send one. It's a massive gamble, walking into a potential enemy's hands. But what choice do they have? The SGC assembles its best. Colonel Jack O'Neill, despite being a general now, insists on leading the team. With him are Dr. Daniel Jackson, the man who can decipher anything, Colonel Samantha Carter, whose mind can comprehend the alien tech, and Teal'c, the stoic Jaffa warrior who has seen more alien threats than anyone. They gear up not with their usual P-90s but with a mix of diplomatic caution and military readiness. They arrive at the designated coordinates, a barren patch of land. A shimmering blue-white portal, similar to a Stargate but distinctly different, materializes. From it steps a figure that silences even O'Neill. It's a giant, standing nearly 7 feet tall, clad in olive-drab armor that seems more like a personal tank than a suit. The helmet, with its iconic gold visor, hides any trace of a face. This is the Master Chief, Spartan 117. Behind him, a blue-hued artificial intelligence flickers into existence from a small projector on his hand. "Greetings," the AI's calm female voice announces. "I am Cortana. This is Spartan 117. We represent the United Nations Space Command. We have questions." The meeting takes place in the SGC briefing room, a place that has hosted talks that decided the fate of the galaxy, but this feels different. Master Chief stands in a corner, a silent, imposing statue. He's so still, it's unnerving. Cortana's holographic form hovers over the central table, her light casting a blue glow on the faces of Hammond, O'Neill, Carter, and Jackson. "Your Earth is..." "Quiet," Cortana begins, her digital eyebrows furrowing in a simulation of concern. "Too quiet." "Our records, salvaged from the Covenant's data archives after the fall of High Charity, spoke of a vibrant pre-industrial humanity on this world, designated heir to Tyrann by the Forerunners. But our long-range scans show nothing. No large-scale industrial pollution, no sprawling megacities covering your continents. It's as if your technological development was stunted. And yet," she gestures towards the Stargate in the next room, "you have this." Daniel Jackson leans forward, his excitement overriding his caution. "The Forerunners. You know of them? The Ancients?" "We believe they built the Stargate network," Cortana's form flickers. "Ancients? An interesting designation. Our history calls them the Forerunners, the wielders of the mantle of responsibility. They were the galaxy's custodians until they faced an enemy they could not defeat. The Flood, a parasitic life form that consumes all sentient life. To stop it, they built the Halo Array, superweapons designed to sterilize the entire galaxy and then reseed it. They sacrificed themselves to save everyone else." A heavy silence fills the room. Carter is the first to break it, her mind racing. "A galaxy-wide sterilization event. That would explain the Fermi paradox. And it might explain the gap in our own history. The Goa'uld, a parasitic species that enslaved humanity thousands of years ago, they suppressed our technological growth, posing as gods." "Goa'uld?" Cortana asks, her voice sharp. "Parasitic? Describe them." Teal'c steps forward. "They are serpentine creatures that take a host, controlling them completely. They ruled the galaxy for millennia, using humans as slaves and hosts. We have only recently defeated them." Master Chief shifts his weight. It's the first movement he's made. His head turns slightly, his helmeted gaze fixing on Teal'c. Though no expression is visible, the intensity is palpable. Cortana processes this new information. Parasites that take hosts. Posing as gods, her form flashes red for a split second. The parallels to the Flood are disturbing. The Covenant, the alien hegemony we just fought a 30-year war against, was a religious alliance built on a lie about the Forerunners' technology. They worshipped the Halos, believing they offered transcendence, a great journey. In reality, they were trying to activate a doomsday device. It seems both our humanities have been manipulated by parasitic liars. Who has been uncharacteristically quiet finally speaks up. "So let me get this straight. You guys are from the future? Or another dimension? You fought a war against religious space bugs, and you show up here because our planet isn't as trashed as it should be?" "Not exactly the future, Colonel," Cortana replies. "Our fleet was testing a new slip-space drive. There was an accident, a temporal and dimensional distortion. We were thrown off course. We detected this Earth, our home, and came to investigate. We needed to know if this was our past or somewhere else entirely." Carter adds, "The energy signature of your drive. It's similar to hyperspace technology, but far more advanced. The temporal distortion explains why you're here in our present." Daniel Jackson taps his pen on his notepad. "And this is where it gets interesting. The Goa'uld. You mentioned the Flood. Could there be a connection?" Are the Goa'uld a less virulent, or perhaps an earlier, form of the Flood? A species that evolved along a similar parasitic path. Cortana's hologram paces. It's a terrifying possibility. The Flood is a biological singularity. It learns from its hosts, absorbing their memories and knowledge. If the Goa'uld have been assimilating humans for thousands of years, they would possess a vast repository of knowledge, including potentially the locations of Forerunner artifacts. Or worse. Suddenly, Master Chief speaks. His voice is a deep, gravelly baritone, filtered through his helmet's combs but carrying an undeniable weight of authority. The grave mind. All eyes turn to him. The central intelligence of the Flood, Cortana explains, her voice somber. It spoke of predecessors. Beings who came before the Forerunners, beings the Flood consumed. What if the Goa'uld aren't an offshoot of the Flood, but a rival? Another ancient parasite, one that the Forerunners contained, but didn't eradicate. The implications are staggering. Two ancient galaxy-consuming parasitic threats. Humanity caught in the middle, twice. General Hammond leans back, rubbing his temples. So what's the plan, people? We have a fleet of your warships in orbit. A potential new parasitic threat on the horizon, and a whole lot of questions. Master Chief looks directly at the SGC team. For the first time, there's a sense of something other than silent observation from him. It's a sense of shared purpose. We fight, he says simply. The Goa'uld are a threat to this Earth. My mission is to protect Earth. All Earths. Cortana smiles. A genuine, worn expression. The Spartan is right. Our fleet is damaged from the slipspace jump, but our technology is centuries ahead of yours. Your team has knowledge of the Stargate network, the Goa'uld, and the political landscape of this galaxy. We can help each other. The UNSC can provide the firepower to secure this galaxy, and in return, you can help us find a way home. O'Neill grins. You had me at firepower. So a giant in green armor, a blue space lady, and a team of Earth's finest walk into a galaxy full of snakeheads. What could possibly go wrong? An alliance is forged. An unprecedented union of two of humanity's greatest hopes. The SGC's knowledge and experience combined with the UNSC's overwhelming technological superiority. The Goa'uld remnants, the opportunistic Lusian alliance. And even the Wraith in the Pegasus galaxy would soon face a new, unified humanity, one that had fought wars on two fronts across dimensions and time. The galaxy would never be the same. The battle for Earth was over. The war for the galaxy had just begun. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this crossover story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more what-if scenarios from across the sci-fi universe. Let me know in the comments what other crossovers you'd love to see. Until next time, stay curious.
In the vast star-strewn blackness of space, two realities, two universes were about to collide in the most unexpected way. For Stargate Command, it was just another day at the office. SG-1, led by the ever-sarcastic Colonel Jack O'Neill, stepped through the shimmering event horizon of the Stargate. They expected another lush forest planet, maybe a desert world with a quirky pre-industrial civilization. What they did not expect was to find themselves standing in a cavernous metallic hangar, staring down the barrel of a MA-5B assault rifle held by a 7-foot-tall super soldier in green Mjolnir armor. Freeze! Identify yourselves! The voice was deep, amplified by the helmet speakers. It was Master Chief Petty Officer John 117. Alongside him, Cortana's holographic form flickered to life, her blue light illuminating the Chief's impassive visor. Her digital eyes widened, processing the impossible. A swirling vortex of water-like energy had just materialized out of thin air, depositing 4 strangely dressed individuals. O'Neill, ever the diplomat, raised an eyebrow. All right, who ordered the extra-large tin can? Teal'c, you didn't, did you? Teal'c, the stoic Jaffa warrior, simply replied, indeed not O'Neill. Dr. Daniel Jackson, ever the archaeologist and linguist, stepped forward cautiously, hands raised. We're peaceful explorers. My name is Dr. Daniel Jackson. We come from a world called Earth. Cortana's voice cut through the tension. Another Earth? Chief, their dialect registers as 21st century American English, but their energy signatures are off the charts. That device behind them, it's a stable wormhole. The physics are staggering. This was the beginning of an alliance that would change the fate of two galaxies. The meeting took place on Reach, months before its tragic fall, aboard a cloaked Oni research station. General Hammond of the SGC and Lord Hood of the UNSC, communicating via complex interface bridged by Cortana and Dr. Samantha Carter, quickly realized they were not from alternate timelines, but entirely separate universes. The threat, however, was universal. The UNSC was locked in a desperate war against the fanatical alien empire known as the Covenant. Stargate Command was battling the parasitic Goa'uld, false gods who enslaved countless worlds. When intel from both sides was shared, a terrifying picture emerged. A radical faction of the Covenant, led by a prophet who called himself the Oracle of Damnation, had discovered ancient texts speaking of the Clippeth, a name that sent a chill down Daniel Jackson's spine. In Goa'uld mythology, the Clippeth were a void-dwelling, soul-devouring horror, an enemy even the parasitic snakes feared. The Oracle believed the Clippeth were the true instruments of the Great Journey, a divine wind that would cleanse the galaxy. He had found a way to bridge realities, a dark perversion of Asgard and Forerunner technology, seeking to unleash this ancient evil upon both universes. The common enemy had been found. The first joint mission was a sight to behold. Aboard the UNSC Pillar of Autumn, Captain Keyes briefed a unique squad. Master Chief stood beside Teal'c, the two titans of their respective universes sharing a silent, professional respect. Carter was in the engine room, her mind racing as she worked alongside UNSC engineers, marveling at the Shaw Fujikawa Translite engine. It's like a hyperdrive, but it tears a hole into another dimension, fascinatingly reckless, she muttered. O'Neill, meanwhile, was trying to explain the concept of a P-90 to a group of bewildered ODSTs. It goes brr. Simple. Very effective against snakeheads. Probably good against purple squid faces, too. Their destination was a rogue moon in a forgotten corner of the Milky Way, a place where the Oracle ES forces were attempting to open the first permanent rift to the Clippeth S dimension. The battle was unlike anything either side had ever seen. SG-1, used to small unit tactics and guerrilla warfare, found themselves in a massive combined arms assault. Warthogs roared across the barren landscape, their chain guns tearing into Covenant ground troops. Above, long swords and death gliders flew wing to wing, engaging Phantom and Owlcast bombers in a chaotic dogfight. Master Chief and Teal'c moved as one, a force of nature. The Chief's shields flared under plasma fire as he returned a volley from his battle rifle, while Teal'c's staff weapon blasted a charging elite zealot off its feet. "Your weapon is formidable, Spartan," Teal'c noted, effortlessly snapping the neck of a grunt that tried to flank him. "Yours too," John 117 replied, his voice a low rumble. Efficient. Daniel and a team of Oni researchers, protected by ODSTs, raced to decipher the control console for the Rift device. It was a hellish fusion of Goa'uld crystals and Forerunner holographic interfaces. "It's a countdown!" Daniel yelled. "They're not just opening the door, they're trying to destabilize the entire region of spacetime to pull their dark gods through." Suddenly, the ground trembled. From the shimmering, unstable rift, a creature of pure nightmare began to emerge. It was a being of non-Euclidean geometry, shifting shadow, and countless screaming maws. The Clippeth. Plasma and bullets seemed to pass right through it, its mere presence causing a creeping dread that seeped into the minds of even the most hardened soldiers. "It's not entirely in our physical plane." Carter's voice crackled over the comms from the Pillar of Autumn. "We need to hit it with something that can affect multiple dimensions at once." "Chief, we're sending you a little something from our playbook." A brilliant beam of light shot down from the orbiting starship. It wasn't a Mac round. It was an Asgard transporter beam. Materializing in front of the Master Chief was a small cylindrical device. A Mark 9 gatebuster, a Quadri-enhanced nuclear warhead designed to destroy stargates. "O'Neill, what the hell is that?" Lord Hood's voice, patched in from Highcom, was incredulous. "That," O'Neill said with a grim smile, "is Plan B and CD and E all rolled into one." The plan was insane. It was pure SG-1. "Chief, you need to get that package into the Rift. Carter instructed. Teal'c, you and your Jaffa need to provide cover. We're going to overload the rift generator at the exact moment the warhead detonates inside. The resulting energy feedback should, theoretically, seal the tier and obliterate anything caught in the blast. Theoretically? Cortana queried, her tone laced with digital sarcasm. I'm starting to see how you people operate. What followed was a legendary charge. Master Chief, carrying the gatebuster, sprinted towards the portal, a green and gold blur of death. He was a one-man army, his movements a symphony of violence. He vaulted over debris, dodged plasma grenades, and shattered Covenant shields with brutal efficiency. Teal'c and a small contingent of Jaffa warriors laid down a devastating wall of fire, their staff weapons glowing hot. For the Tory, for the free Jaffa! Teal'c bellowed, his voice a war cry that echoed across the battlefield. As the chief reached the threshold of the screaming void, the Oracle of Damnation himself appeared, wielding a gravity hammer and surrounded by his honor guard. He was a decrepit, ancient prophet, his voice a rasping whisper amplified by his floating throne. The foolishness of mortals knows no bounds. You cannot stop salvation. The chief didn't waste a word. He activated the warhead's timer, sidestepped the swing from the hammer, and with a powerful shove sent the prophet and his entire throne tumbling backward into the rift. Then, with seconds to spare, he tossed the Mark 9 in after them. He turned and ran, the very ground shaking apart behind him. Carter now, O'Neill yelled. From the Pillar of Autumn, the ship's main cannon, reconfigured by Carter to fire a concentrated blast of energy, targeted the rift generator. The beam struck true. Simultaneously, deep within the chaotic dimension of the Clippeth, the gatebuster detonated. For a moment, there was a blinding flash of white light, followed by an utter deafening silence. The rift imploded, collapsing in on itself, with a sound like tearing fabric. And then it was gone. In the aftermath, the survivors, human, Jaffa, and Spartan, stood together on the scorched battlefield, looking at the empty space where a tier in reality had been. The first major battle of the Inter-Universal War had been won. Back on the station, the mood was one of weary triumph. Lord Hood looked at the image of General Hammond on the screen. Your people are unconventional, General, but damn effective. Hammond allowed a small smile. I could say the same about your 7-foot-tall super soldier, Admiral. The alliance was solidified. The UNSC began retrofitting ships with Naquata generators for enhanced power and shields, while Carter helped them understand the principles of hyperdrive technology. The SGC gained access to the UNSC's vast manufacturing capabilities and advanced materials, outfitting SG teams with armor components inspired by Mjolnir. Teal'c began training ODSTs in Jaffa martial arts, while Daniel Jackson and ONI's top xenolinguists worked tirelessly, piecing together the full horrifying history of the Clippet from both Forerunner and Goa'uld records. This was only the beginning. The Oracle was gone, but his followers were still out there, scattered across 2 galaxies. And deep within the void between universes, the Clippeth were now aware of the 2 galaxies teeming with life, with souls ripe for the harvest. The war for survival had just gotten a whole lot bigger. Stargate Command and the UNSC, 2 defenders of humanity from 2 different realities, now stood shoulder to shoulder, their gaze fixed on the stars, ready for whatever came next. The universe, or rather the universes, would never be the same. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more.
The distress signal was faint, a ghost of a whisper across the quantum entanglement network. But for Spartan Blue Team, it was a shout. The UNSC Infinity, adrift and crippled, was under siege. Not by the Covenant, not by the Banished. This was something new, something alien. As their Condor gunship sliced through the atmosphere of the uncharted planet designated XB-77, John 117 watched the reading scroll across his HUD. Energy signatures unlike anything Cortana had ever logged. Kelly, Fred, Linda, on me. John's voice was calm, a rock in the storm of static. We are going in hard and fast. Standard sweep and clear. Prioritize retrieving any surviving command crew. They dropped from the Condor's ramp into chaos. The landscape was a hellscape of twisted metal and scorched earth. The attackers were tall, impossibly slender beings clad in ornate, golden armor, wielding staff-like weapons that fired bolts of pure energy. They moved with a chilling, almost ceremonial grace, a stark contrast to the brutal efficiency of their assault. Hostiles identified. Linda 058 reported from her sniper's perch. Their armor seems to have some kind of personal energy shield. It recharges. Aim for the head or the gaps in the plating. Understood, Fred 104 replied, his shotgun barking as he cleared a path toward the Infinity's fractured hull. They're tough, but they go down. Inside the ship, the fighting was even more intense. The corridors, usually gleaming with polished metal, were now battlegrounds. Blue team moved like wraiths, a blur of Mjolnir armor and disciplined fire. They fought through room after room, the bodies of the Golden Warriors piling up alongside fallen UNSC Marines. They were making progress, but the enemy was relentless, seemingly endless. It was in the main engineering bay that they found them. Not UNSC Command, but 4 figures in tactical gear, holding the line against a swarm of the Golden Aliens. They fought differently than Marines. One, a man with graying hair and a wry look, coordinated their fire with hand signals. Another, a woman with blonde hair, was expertly patching up a wound on a dark-skinned man who wielded one of the alien staff weapons with surprising skill. The fourth, a man with glasses, was frantically working at a damaged console, muttering about power conduits and Naquata. Identify yourselves. John commanded, his assault rifle leveled. The man with graying hair turned, not even flinching at the sight of the 4 giants in power armor. Colonel Jack O'Neill, SG-1. And you guys are tall. You with the rescue party. Spartan Blue Team, John replied, lowering his weapon slightly as Cortana cross-referenced the designation. Stargate Command. A classified deep space exploration project. We are securing the Infinity. What are these things? We call them Jaffa, O'Neill said, reloading his P90. They serve the Goa'uld. Think parasitic space snakes with a god complex. One of them, Anubis, thought your big fancy ship would make a nice new flagship. Suddenly, the deck shuddered. A deep, resonant voice echoed through the bay, seeming to come from everywhere at once. You cannot stop me, mortals. This vessel's power will be mine. That's our boy, Anubis, O'Neill quipped. Likes to make an entrance. Cortana, can you track that transmission? John asked. Already on it, Chief, Cortana's voice replied in his helmet. He's broadcasting from the bridge, and is attempting to interface with the ship's primary systems, including the slipspace drive. If he gets control of that drive, the man with glasses, Dr. Daniel Jackson, warned, he could take this ship anywhere in the galaxy, or turn its weapons on Earth. Not on my watch, John stated. Fred, Kelly, hold this position with SG-1. Linda, you have Overwatch. I'm going to the bridge. You're going alone, the woman, Captain Samantha Carter, asked incredulously. He's never alone, Kelly 087 said, her confidence absolute. The journey to the bridge was a brutal gauntlet. John moved with a speed and ferocity that even the Jaffa couldn't counter. He was a force of nature, a one-man army carving a path through the heart of the invasion. He breached the bridge doors with a controlled explosion. Inside, the scene was surreal. A hooded, shadowy figure stood before the main view screen, its hands glowing with energy as it interfaced with the Infinity's controls. Anubis. He was flanked by a dozen of his elite Cull warriors, hulking figures in black armor that seemed to absorb light. A Spartan, Anubis's voice hissed. A formidable, yet futile gesture. The Cull warriors advanced, their mounted energy weapons charging. John didn't hesitate. He met them head-on, his movements a deadly dance of combat. He sidestepped an energy blast, ripped the weapon from a warrior's arm, and used it to blast another. He was outnumbered, outgunned in some ways, but he was a Spartan. He adapted. He overcame. He was an instrument of war, perfected. As the last Cull warrior fell, John faced Anubis. The shadowy being unleashed a wave of kinetic energy, slamming John back against a bulkhead. The Master Chief's shields flared and died, alert screaming in his ears. Your strength is meaningless, Anubis gloated. John pushed himself up, his movement strained. You talk too much. He drew his magnum. Cortana, now. Overloading the bridge's energy conduits on your mark, Chief. Cortana's voice was tight with concentration. John leveled the magnum. He didn't fire at Anubis. He fired at a small, exposed control panel to his right. The panel exploded in a shower of sparks. In that split second of distraction, Cortana flooded the system. Raw power, meant for the Infinity's main gun, surged through the bridge consoles where Anubis was connected. Anubis screamed, not a voice of a god, but of a being in pure agony, as his incorporeal form was torn apart by the raw, untamed power of a human warship. The shadowy figure dissolved into nothingness. Silence fell on the bridge. John stood, reloading his magnum, the barrel still smoking. "Chief, are you there?" "John." O'Neill's voice came over the comm. "Bridge is secure," John reported, his voice as steady as ever. "The threat is neutralized." A few minutes later, SG-1 joined him on the bridge. They looked around at the carnage, the fallen Col warriors, and the lone Spartan standing amidst it all. O'Neill let out a low whistle. "Well, I'll be damned. You guys really are as good as they say." Daniel Jackson looked at the Master Chief with a sense of awe. "You faced a Goa'uld system lord by yourself, and won." John simply looked out the view screen at the stars. "We do what's necessary." Two teams, from two different universes, united by duty and a battle for humanity's survival. The Infinity was safe, for now. But this encounter had opened a new door, a gateway to a larger, more dangerous galaxy than either of them had ever imagined. The war was far from over. It had just gotten a whole lot bigger. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from across the universes.
Chief charged the first prime directly. The Goa'uld's eyes widened, actual fear flickering across his features as 7 feet of armored Spartan closed distance faster than any human should move. The possessed warrior raised his staff weapon, managed to fire once, and watched in disbelief as the plasma bolt splashed harmlessly against energy shielding that absorbed the impact without the Spartan even slowing. Chief's right hand closed around the staff weapon shaft and crushed it. His left hand grabbed the first prime by the throat, lifting him off the ground with casual strength that made the warrior's legs kick uselessly. The golden glow in the Goa'uld eyes flickered with something like panic. "I'm going to give you one chance," Chief said, his voice absolutely level. "Tell me what Anubis is planning, where his fleet is positioned, and which worlds he's targeting. Or I remove the snake and ask the host the same questions." The Goa'uld's voice came out strangled but defiant. "You cannot threaten a god." Chief's grip tightened fractionally. The possessed warrior's words cut off as his airway constricted. "You're not a god. You're a parasite wearing someone else's body. And I've killed things that thought they were gods. Answer the question." O'Neill appeared at Chief's side, his P-90 trained on the handful of Jaffa warriors, still standing but clearly reconsidering their life choices. "Master Chief, much as I'm enjoying watching you intimidate a Goa'uld, and trust me, it's very satisfying, we should probably get him back to base for proper interrogation. Hammond's going to want intel we can verify." Cortana's voice came through both Chief's helmet and through the MALP's speakers, the AI having hijacked the communication system. "Chief, I'm detecting energy buildups in the ruins. Multiple contacts, heavily armed, moving to surround our position. Looks like this was a trap they had reinforcements waiting." Teal'c's expression darkened as he surveyed the ruins where additional Jaffa warriors were emerging, these better armed and moving with the precision of elite guards. "Death gliders overhead," he announced, pointing skyward where 2 Goa'uld fighters screamed past, their weapons charging for strafing runs. Carter swore creatively as her scanner lit up. "Those aren't standard patrols. That's a full security detachment, 40, maybe 50 Jaffa, and the gliders are armed with staff cannons that can level this platform. We need to fall back to the gate now." Chief's HUD painted tactical overlays that confirmed Carter's assessment. They were outnumbered, the enemy held air superiority, and retreating through unknown terrain would expose them to coordinated ambush. Standard doctrine said withdraw to defensible position and call for extraction. But the gate was their extraction, and it was currently surrounded by enemy forces that would be in optimal firing positions if SG-1 tried to dial home. "Fred, clear the gate platform," Chief ordered, hurling the first prime toward his fellow Spartan. "Kelly, take the north approach. Linda, I need those gliders grounded. O'Neill, dial home on my mark. You're going to fight 40 Jaffa warriors and 2 fighter craft so we can retreat?" O'Neill asked incredulously. "That's the mission," Chief replied, his assault rifle coming up as the reinforcements closed distance. "Get your people home, Colonel." We'll be right behind you. What O'Neill saw in that moment in the stance of a soldier who'd made a career of impossible odds made the colonel nod once in recognition of something he understood at a fundamental level. Sometimes you held the line because people behind you needed time to get clear. It's what soldiers did. Teal'c, Daniel, Cartergate now. O'Neill barked. SG-1 moves, Spartans cover. The Death Gliders screamed down for their attack run. Linda's sniper rifle spoke twice, and both fighters tumbled from the sky in balls of superheated metal as impossibly precise rounds punched through their cockpits. The Jaffa reinforcements charged with war cries that echoed through the ruins. And 4 Spartans stood their ground while SG-1 ran for the gate, because that's what heroes did when others needed time to survive. The battle for P3X984 had begun. The Jaffa warriors crashed against the Spartan defensive line like waves against titanium bulkheads. The chief's assault rifle barked in controlled bursts. Each round precisely placed to disable rather than kill. Kneecaps shattered, weapon arms ruined, armor joints compromised. Behind him, Carter's fingers flew across the DHD interface, dialing the 7-symbol sequence that would connect them back to Earth, while O'Neill and Daniel provided covering fire against the enemies attempting to flank their position. Fred had become a wall of armor and violence at the gate platform's northern approach. His combat knife deflected staff weapon strikes with casual precision, while his free hand delivered strikes that sent Jaffa flying backward with broken ribs and shattered armor plates. 3 warriors tried to overwhelm him simultaneously. He caught one by the helmet, used the warrior as a bludgeon against the second, and kicked the third hard enough to send him tumbling down the platform's stone steps. Kelly moved through the Jaffa ranks like a storm given human form. Her augmented speed made her effectively invisible to enemies trained to fight normal humans. She was behind warriors before they registered movement, disarming them with strikes too fast to counter, breaking formations with surgical precision. A Jaffa commander tried to organize his troops into a firing line. Kelly removed him from the equation with a sweep that took his legs out and a follow-up strike that cracked his helmet. Linda had taken position on elevated ruins 50 meters from the gate, her sniper rifle systematically eliminating any Jaffa who tried to bring heavy weapons to bear. A warrior attempted to set up what looked like a crew-served staff cannon. Linda's round destroyed the weapon before it could charge. Another Jaffa reached for a communication device to call for more reinforcements. The device exploded in his hand from a round that left the warrior alive but very motivated to reconsider his career choices. Chevron 7 encoded, Carter shouted as the wormhole burst into existence behind them. Gates open, 30 seconds until we can establish a lock. Chief's motion tracker lit up with new contacts, more Jaffa pouring from the ruins, and these carried the golden armor of elite guards sworn directly to system lords. Anubis had been expecting trouble, and he prepared accordingly. Blue team, fighting withdrawal. Linda, collapse and move. The sniper was already in motion, her rifle mag-locked to her back as she vaulted from her position and sprinted for the gate with speed that made the pursuing Jaffa's shots miss by meters. Plasma bolts carved through empty air where she'd been, and by the time they adjusted their aim she was behind cover with her rifle already tracking new targets. Teal'c stood at the base of the event horizon, his staff weapon providing disciplined covering fire while SG-1 prepared to step through. But his eyes tracked the Spartans' movements with an intensity that went beyond tactical assessment. This was a warrior, recognizing something in other warriors, seeing in their fluid coordination, an absolute efficiency, the kind of teamwork that came from decades of shared combat. Daniel, go! O'Neill ordered, pushing the archaeologist toward the wormhole. Daniel stumbled through the event horizon with a last look at the chaos erupting around the gate platform. Carter, you're next. Sir. The Spartans will be fine because they're scary efficient, and I'm more worried about Hammond shooting me if I leave his science officer behind. Move, Major! Carter stepped through the wormhole, her expression conflicted, but her discipline overriding the instinct to stay and fight. O'Neill followed, then Teal'c, each disappearing into the shimmering blue surface until only the Spartans remained on an alien world with 40 hostile warriors closing distance and the possibility of air support arriving at any moment. Chief, we've got incoming! Cortana's warning coincided with Chief's motion tracker painting new aerial contacts. Not death gliders this time, something bigger, slower, and broadcasting energy signatures consistent with Goa'uld troop transports. Tautax, if his briefing materials were accurate. Ships designed to deliver reinforcements via ring transporters that could beam warriors directly into combat zones. "Time to go," Chief stated, his rifle still tracking targets as he backed toward the gate. "Fred, Kelly, collapse on my position. Linda, you're through first." The sniper didn't argue, sprinting for the event horizon and diving through with the kind of trust that only came from knowing your team leader would follow. Fred came next, moving backward with his rifle providing suppressive fire that kept the Jaffa honest about pursuing too closely. Kelly danced through plasma bolts with superhuman agility, her shields flaring twice from glancing hits before she reached the platform, and somersaulted through the wormhole with acrobatic grace. Chief was the last Spartan standing on P3X-984, 40 meters from the gate with approximately 30 Jaffa warriors between him and extraction. The Teltak transport ships were descending, their ring transporters already beginning the activation sequence that would deposit fresh troops directly onto the battlefield. Standard doctrine said retreat immediately. Every tactical simulation said staying another second risked capture or worse. But Chief's sensors had detected something during the firefight energy signatures coming from beneath the ancient ruins. Power readings that matched the briefing materials on Anubis's experimental weapon systems. This wasn't just a garrison outpost. This was a research facility, and whatever Anubis was developing here was important enough to guard with elite troops and rapid response air support. "Cortana, can you access their systems from here?" Chief asked, his rifle tracking the first prime he decaptured earlier now, recovered and shouting orders to his warriors with the kind of fury that came from being humiliated by an enemy. "Not without direct access to their computer network," the AI replied. "But Chief, those transport ships are 20 seconds from deployment. If you're thinking about raiding their facility, now is really not the time." "Agreed." Chief hurled a flashbang grenade into the advancing Jaffa formation standard. UNSC ordnance that erupted with concussive force and blinding light, sending warriors stumbling with their enhanced hearing and vision temporarily overwhelmed. He sprinted for the gate, his shields absorbing 3 plasma bolts that would have killed an unarmored human, and dove through the event horizon as the ring transporters activated behind him. The transit through the wormhole felt different the second time his nervous system had adapted to the impossible physics, and Cortana was filtering the sensory data to reduce the disorientation. He emerged in the SGC gate room traveling at combat velocity, rolled to absorb the momentum, and came up with his rifle raised until his HUD confirmed he was surrounded by friendlies. "Incoming Traveler Spartan IFF confirmed." The gate technician's voice carried relief. "That's all of them, sir. Close the iris." The titanium barrier slammed shut across the event horizon 3 seconds before the first Jaffa warrior would have emerged. There was a wet thud against the iris as something tried to materialize and was instead reduced to component atoms by the barrier position micrometers from the wormhole S event horizon. Several more thuds followed warriors trying to pursue without realizing the gate was sealed before the wormhole finally disengaged. Hammond stood in the control room, his expression caught between relief and anger. "Colonel O'Neill, would you care to explain why a routine reconnaissance mission turned into a firefight that nearly got both teams captured?" O'Neill descended from the gate room, holstering his P90 with the casual manner of someone who'd had this conversation before. "Sir, in my defense, we gathered valuable intelligence. Specifically, we learned that Anubis knows about our new friends and he's very interested in capturing them for study. We also learned that Master Chief can choke out a Goa'uld with one hand while looking like he's barely paying attention, which I found educational." Chief and Blue Team descended from the platform, their armor showing scorch marks from plasma impacts, but otherwise undamaged. Carter was already at her computer terminals, reviewing the sensor data the MALP had collected during the firefight. "Sir, look at this. The Spartans' weapons, they're using chemically propelled projectiles, but the armor penetration characteristics are incredible. And their energy shields absorbed plasma impacts that would have killed anyone in standard body armor. We need to understand this technology." "Later, Major," Hammond said, though his tone suggested he shared her curiosity. "What message is that?" Hammond asked. "That Earth is no longer vulnerable. That attacking this world means facing an enemy who will destroy your fleet, hunt your survivors, and make an example that ensures no other system lord tries the same thing." Chief's voice carried the absolute certainty of someone who spent 30 years making good on exactly those kinds of threats. "We don't just want to win the battle, General. We want to win it so decisively that the other system lords decide Earth isn't worth the cost." Carter pulled up stellar cartography data on the main display. There's another consideration, sir. Our allies, the Tok'ra, the Jaffa rebellion, even the Asgard are going to want explanations about where this fleet came from and what it means for the balance of power in the galaxy. We can't just reveal UNC capabilities without coordinating with the people who've been helping us survive for years. Indeed, Major Carter is correct, Teal'c added. The Tok'ra in particular will wish to know if Earth has been hiding technological capabilities or if the UNSC represents a new factor they must account for in their resistance operations. And Bra'tac, who leads the Jaffa rebellion, will see the Spartans as potential allies in the war against the false gods or as a threat to the Jaffa's role in their own liberation. Chief absorbed that information, recognizing the political complexity of a situation where military solutions alone wouldn't suffice. The UNSC had faced similar challenges during the Covenant War, when different human factions competed for resources and political authority, even while facing extinction. Building coalitions required trust, and trust required transparency about capabilities and intentions. Then we start with transparency, Chief said. Invite your allies to meet with UNSC leadership. Show them our technology, explain how we fight, and make it clear we're here to help defend humanity, not conquer it. Captain Lasky is a diplomat as much as a warrior. He can make the case. Hammond nodded slowly, the pieces of a larger strategy beginning to coalesce. All right. We'll arrange a summit Tok'ra, Jaffa leadership, and if we can get Thor's attention, Asgard representation. But that takes time, and Anubis isn't known for his patience. Colonel O'Neill, I want SG-1 prepared for rapid deployment if we detect System Lord fleet movements. Master Chief, coordinate with Major Carter on integrating your fleet's sensors with our deep space monitoring network. And someone find out what Anubis was developing on P3X984. Because if he was willing to station elite guards at that facility, whatever's there is important. As the briefing concluded and personnel dispersed to their assignments, Cortana's voice came through Chief's helmet in a private channel. Chief, I analyzed the energy signatures from those ruins. Whatever Anubis is building, it's using power generation principles similar to ancient technology but with modifications that suggest he is trying to weaponize something the ancients deliberately didn't militarize. If he succeeds, the fleet might not be enough to stop him. Then we make sure he doesn't succeed. Chief replied, watching SG-1 prepare for their next mission with the practiced efficiency of soldiers who'd been at war for years. We find his facilities, destroy his weapons, and eliminate the threat before he can deploy it. That's a tall order, Cortana observed. It's the mission, Chief said simply. And for a Spartan, that was all that mattered. The conference chamber aboard UNSC Infinity represented 5 centuries of human engineering curved walls lined with holographic displays, a central table that could project tactical overlays from 1,000 star systems and viewports that looked out onto Earth's curved horizon far below. Captain Thomas Lasky stood at the head of the table, his crisp Navy uniform a stark contrast to the eclectic mix of delegates assembled for what might be the most important diplomatic summit in 2 galaxies. General Hammond occupied one side with SG-1 flanking him, their military bearing unmistakable even in the unfamiliar setting of a ship that dwarfed anything Earth had constructed. Major Carter's eyes kept drifting to the holographic systems, her scientific mind clearly cataloging technologies she desperately wanted to study. O'Neill maintained his characteristic slouch, but his tactical awareness remained sharp as he assessed potential threats and exits with the instinct of a soldier who survived too many diplomatic incidents gone violent. Across from them sat 3 Tok'ra representatives, their eyes occasionally flashing with the telltale glow of symbiote communication. Garshaw of Balat led their delegation, an older woman whose host and symbiote both carried the weight of centuries fighting the Goa'uld. Jacob Carter sat beside her, his presence a complicated intersection of human father and alien resistance fighter that made Sam's expression flicker between professional and personal. The 3rd Tok'ra Anus studied the Spartan standing guard with the kind of analytical intensity that made Chief's threat assessment flag her as intelligence operative. Bra'tac represented the Jaffa rebellion, an ancient warrior whose weathered face bore scars from a lifetime of service to false gods, followed by decades fighting to free his people from that slavery. He'd arrived via Asgard transport with Teal'c's personal guarantee, but his hand never strayed far from the staff weapon he'd refused to leave behind. Master Bra'tac, as Teal'c called him with genuine respect, was not a man who trusted easily. The Asgard presence came in the form of Supreme Commander Thor, a gray-skinned alien whose large dark eyes and diminutive stature belied a mind that had guided humanity through existential threats on multiple occasions. He stood on a raised platform that brought him to eye level with the humans. His attention focused on the holographic displays showing UNSC fleet dispositions, with what Chief's body language analysis suggested was intense curiosity. "I thank you all for coming," Lasky began, his command voice filling the chamber with the practiced authority of someone who led fleets through hostile space. "I know the circumstances of our arrival have raised questions about who we are, where we came from, and what our presence means for the balance of power in this galaxy. I'm here to provide answers." Cortana's avatar materialized on the central table's hollow projector, her blue form drawing surprised reactions from everyone except Thor, whose expression might have been amusement. "Captain Lasky, if I may? I've prepared a comprehensive briefing that covers UNSC history, the Covenant War, and the technological developments that led to our current capabilities. It might help our guests understand the context." "Proceed, Cortana," Lasky nodded. The holographic display shifted, showing Earth but not the Earth visible through Infinity's viewports. This Earth bore the scars of plasma bombardment, orbital defense platforms in ruins, and continents where cities had been glassed into radioactive wastelands. The assembled delegates leaned forward, horror and recognition crossing their faces as they saw their own potential future rendered in brutal clarity. "This is Earth from our timeline," Cortana explained, her voice carrying none of her usual playful tone. "In the year 2525, humanity encountered the Covenant, a theocratic alliance of alien species who believed humans were an affront to their gods. They declared a holy war of extermination. For 27 years we fought them across hundreds of worlds. We lost most of those worlds. Billions died. By 2552 the Covenant had found Earth, and we were facing our last stand." The hologram cycled through images of warfare that made the SGC personnel's expressions tighten with recognition: civilians fleeing orbital bombardment, soldiers making desperate last stands against overwhelming force, worlds burning under plasma fire that turned cities to glass. It was the Goa'uld War written larger, with better technology and worse casualties.
Britek, you fought an enemy that sought to exterminate your species. This we understand. The Goa'uld have done the same to countless civilizations, yet you survived. How?
Chief, we adapted. The Covenant had superior numbers and technology, but we had something they didn't: tactical flexibility, individual initiative, and warriors willing to sacrifice everything to buy time for humanity to survive. The Spartan program created soldiers enhanced from childhood, trained to operate behind enemy lines, to assassinate enemy leaders, and to turn impossible odds into tactical victories through precision and coordination.
Jacob Carter, super soldiers, genetic manipulation, cybernetic enhancement, psychological conditioning. The ethics are questionable, but the results speak for themselves. You're alive.
Lasky. The ethics were questionable. The Spartan 2 program took children and turned them into weapons. Many died in the augmentation process. Those who survived lost their childhoods to military training. It was a terrible choice, made by desperate people facing extinction. We can't change what was done, but we can acknowledge it and ensure those sacrifices meant something.
Garshaw, you speak of desperation and survival, yet you arrive here with a fleet that could challenge System Lord armadas. You claim to be from another timeline or dimension, pulled here by forces you don't control. Why should we believe you are allies rather than conquerors who see a galaxy weakened by war as an opportunity for expansion?
Carter, because we've already been the desperate civilization fighting for survival. We've been where you are outgunned, outnumbered, and watching our allies die because we didn't have the technology or firepower to save them. If the UNSC wanted to conquer this galaxy, they wouldn't be sitting here asking for permission. They'd have already secured every strategic resource and established military governance. Instead, they're offering to help us fight the Goa'uld.
Thor, Major Carter's assessment aligns with Asgard observations. The UNSC fleet has maintained defensive positions around Earth without attempting territorial expansion or resource extraction. Their weapons capabilities far exceed our initial estimates, single, Infinity-class vessel could theoretically engage multiple Ori warships with favorable odds, yet they have demonstrated restraint and diplomatic protocol. This suggests genuine interest in alliance rather than subjugation.
Cortana, the Ori? I've encountered references to them in SGC databases but limited tactical data. Thor, if you're comparing our capabilities to Ori warships, I need threat assessments.
Thor, you are a fully autonomous artificial intelligence integrated with human consciousness and military systems. Fascinating that Asgard attempted to develop such technology but found the computational requirements exceeded our capabilities. How did humanity achieve this?
Cortana, long story involving a brilliant scientist, some ethical boundaries that probably should have been respected, and my personal charm. But Thor's right to be concerned about the Ori. From what I've analyzed in SGC records, they're ascended beings who've weaponized religious faith and possess technology that makes the Goa'uld look primitive. If they're a threat to this galaxy, we need to factor them into strategic planning.
Anise, the immediate threat is Anubis. The Ori have not yet invaded in force, but Anubis has been augmenting himself with ancient knowledge and developing superweapons that could destroy entire fleets. The Tok'ra have intelligence suggesting he is preparing a major offensive against Earth specifically because your Stargate represents a strategic asset he cannot allow his rivals to control.
Fred, then we use that. Anubis wants Earth, so we make Earth the trap. Let him come with his fleet, and we demonstrate exactly what happens when system lords attack worlds defended by UNSC battle groups.
Bertek, you speak as a warrior. Young one, but you have not faced the armies of the false gods in their full might. Anubis commands hundreds of Jaffa battalions, dozens of Hek motherships, and weapons that have destroyed worlds. Your confidence may be misplaced.
Teal'c. Master Bratak, I have witnessed these warriors in combat. They move with coordination that surpasses even the finest Jaffa units. Their armor renders them immune to staff weapon fire, and their weapons can destroy Hartaks with single shots. I do not believe their confidence is misplaced. I believe it is earned.
Kelly, sir, we've faced worse. The Covenant had ships 3 kilometers long with energy projectors that could cut UNSC cruisers in half. They had warriors Songhili zealots who were faster, stronger, and more experienced than any human soldier. They had weapons that could sterilize continents, and we beat them by being smarter, faster, and more ruthless than they expected. The Goa'uld are dangerous, but they're not insurmountable.
Hammond, I think we are getting ahead of ourselves. Before we start planning defensive operations, we need to establish whether this alliance is actually happening. Supreme Commander Thor, what is the Asgard High Council's position on UNSC presence in this galaxy?
Thor, the Asgard have protected Earth for years because we recognized humanity's potential your capacity for innovation, adaptation, and survival despite overwhelming odds. The UNSC represents an alternate branch of human development that achieved in 5 centuries what we hoped your Earth might accomplish in millennia. We see no reason to oppose their presence. Indeed, we would welcome technological exchange that might help resolve the Asgard's own existential challenges.
Cortana, the cloning degradation. I've been analyzing your genetic structure through the sensor data from your transport. You're suffering from cumulative errors in your cloning process. Each generation loses fidelity, and you're approaching a point where the damage becomes irreversible. Thor, with access to UNSC genetic databases and our experience with augmentation protocols, we might be able to help.
Thor, the Asgard would be grateful for such assistance, and in return, we would provide access to our technological archives and support Earth's defense against good aggression.
Garshaw, the Tok'ra also see the value in alliance, though we have concerns about UNSC military doctrine potentially undermining our long-term strategy of infiltrating and destabilizing the system lords from within. Open warfare may force the Goa'uld to unite against a common threat rather than continuing their internal conflicts.
Flasky, that's a fair concern. which is why I'm proposing a coordinated strategy. The Tok'ra continue their infiltration and intelligence operations. The Jaffa Rebellion weakens System Lord armies from within, and UNSC forces provide strategic deterrence and rapid response to major threats. We don't replace your existing efforts. We supplement them with capabilities you currently lack.
Bretak stood, his ancient body moving with the fluid grace of a lifetime warrior. You offer much, Captain Lasky, but words in conference chambers are easily spoken. Deeds on the battlefield earn trust among the Jaffa. If you wish our warriors to fight beside your soldiers, you must prove that your Spartans can stand with us against the armies of the false gods and emerge victorious. Master Chief's helmet turned toward Teal, a silent question passing between warriors. Teal nodded fractionally. This was about honor, about proving worth through shared combat. It was about warriors recognizing other warriors through the only language that transcended cultures and timelines. Name the mission, Master Bretak, Chief said, his voice a low rumble. Blue team will stand with the Jaffa Rebellion. We'll prove our worth in combat. From the side, O'Neill muttered something that sounded a lot like, "Here we go again," but General Hammond's expression suggested he'd expected this. Wars aren't won in conference rooms, they are won by soldiers who trust each other enough to stand together when the shooting starts, and that kind of trust is earned in blood. There is a world, Bretak began, his voice carrying the weight of strategic opportunity, where Anubis has established a training facility for his elite Coal Warriors soldiers enhanced with technology that makes them nearly unstoppable. The Tok'ra have provided intelligence, but our forces lack the strength to assault the facility directly. If your Spartans could help us strike this target, you would deal a significant blow to Anubis' military capabilities, while proving your commitment to Jaffa's liberation. Instantly, Cortana pulled up stellar cartography data. I'm locating the facility in our databases. Heavily fortified, multiple defense grids, and Coal Warriors that, according to SGC records, can shrug off staff weapon fire and survive massive trauma. Chief, this is going to be a hard target. Hard targets are what Spartans do, Linda observed quietly from the side. Captain Lasky looked at Chief, a silent question in his eyes. Was he volunteering his Spartans for a suicide mission just to prove a political point? The Master Chief's answering look was equally silent but clear. This was necessary. This was the mission. Spartans had built their legend by accomplishing the impossible when humanity needed them most. General Hammond, Chief said formally, turning his attention back to the command screen, requesting permission to conduct joint operations with the Jaffa Rebellion against high-value Anubis targets. Hammond's weathered face showed the strain of a commander sending soldiers into danger, but his voice remained steady. Permission granted, Master Chief. Bring our allies home, and bring yourselves home with them. That's an order. Understood, sir. Chief turned back to Bretak, extending his armored hand. We'll stand with Jaffa. Together. We'll show Anubis what happens when humans stop being slaves and start being soldiers. The ancient warrior grasped the chief's hand. In that moment, an alliance was forged not through treaties or diplomatic protocols, but through the ancient understanding between warriors preparing to walk into battle together. The Goa'uld had spent millennia believing humanity existed only to serve them. They were about to discover that humanity, from every timeline and every dimension, had decided otherwise. The Pelican dropship cut through the atmosphere of P2X-338 with its active camouflage engaged, its hull rippling with light-bending technology that made it effectively invisible to the Goa'uld sensor arrays scattered across the planet's surface. Inside the troop bay, Master Chief ran final equipment checks alongside warriors from two very different human civilizations, 4 Spartans in Mjolnir armor and 12 Jaffa rebels who had proudly painted over the serpent emblems of their former masters with symbols of freedom. Bretak stood at the center of the bay, his own armor bearing the scars of 100 battles. Beside him, TLC reviewed tactical overlays on a UNSC datapad that Samantha Carter had modified to interface with Jaffa communication systems. The contrast between staff weapons and MA-5D assault rifles, between armor forged in ancient traditions and powered suits representing centuries of technological evolution, should have been jarring. Instead, it felt right. Humanity, united across impossible distances to fight a common enemy. The facility is located within the mountain complex here. Bretak indicated on the holographic display Cortana projected. Anubis has fortified it with energy barriers, automated defense turrets, and patrols of his Coal Warriors. Intelligence suggests 20 to 30 Kull soldiers guard the facility at any time, along with support staff and Jaffa overseers. Our objective is to penetrate the facility, destroy the cloning tanks where the Kull are created, and retrieve any intelligence about Anubis's other operations. Fred studied the facility's layout, his tactical mind already running assault simulations. Perimeter defenses are standard area denial energy barriers channeling approaches into kill zones, overlapping fields of fire, elevated positions for sentries. But they're defending against staff weapons and conventional explosives, not UNSC breaching equipment. Chief, if we hit the eastern approach with thermite charges, we can burn through the barriers before their response teams can deploy. The Kull warriors will respond within seconds, Teal'c warned gravely. I have fought them before. Their armor is impervious to staff weapon fire, they possess strength greater than any Jaffa, and they regenerate from wounds that would kill normal soldiers. Do not underestimate them. Kelly's voice carried a tone of professional interest. Regeneration factor like the Flood's mutation capabilities or Covenant Shanghai's shields. Cortana, analysis on countering regenerative biology. The AI's avatar flickered as she processed tactical data. Based on SGC medical files, Kull warrior regeneration requires their armored suits to remain functional. The suits contain the technology that enables rapid healing. Catastrophic damage to the suit's power systems or structural integrity should neutralize the regeneration. Recommendation: concentrated fire on suit joints and power cores. And Chief, their weapons are staff cannons integrated into their armor, significantly more powerful than standard staff weapons. Your shields will absorb hits, but sustained fire could overwhelm them. Linda coolly checked her sniper rifle's ammunition-specialized UNSC rounds designed to penetrate enhanced armor plating. How many shots to drop one? Unknown, Cortana admitted. We are extrapolating from limited combat data. SG-1 encountered Kull warriors twice and survived both times through unconventional tactics rather than direct combat. They're designed to be the Goa'uld's answer to enemies that normal Jaffa can't defeat. Then will be their first real test, Chief stated flatly. Blue team, standard breach and clear. Jaffa forces hold the perimeter and provide reinforcement once we've neutralized primary resistance. Master Bratak, your warriors know this terrain and these enemies. I need your tactical expertise on Goa'uld response protocols. The old warrior's expression showed clear approval. You honor us by seeking our counsel rather than assuming your superior technology renders our experience irrelevant. This is wise. The Goa'uld are predictable in their arrogance. They will send the Kull warriors to crush what they perceive as a minor incursion, confident in their super soldiers' invincibility. When those warriors fall, confusion and fear will spread among the support staff. That is when we strike the facility's core. The Pelican shuddered slightly as it entered its final approach vector. Captain Reyes's voice crackled through the intercom. Spartans, we're 60 seconds from insertion point. Scanners show active patrols but no indication they've detected our approach. You'll have approximately 3 minutes before their sensor grid compensates for our stealth systems. 3 minutes is generous. O'Neill's familiar voice came through the comm channel. He was aboard the Infinity with SG-1, monitoring the operation alongside Captain Lasky. Most of our insertions give us about 30 seconds before everything goes sideways. Try not to start an intergalactic incident, Chief. Hammond's already nervous about this operation. Understood, Colonel, Chief replied. The Pelican's rear hatch began opening, cold air rushing in as the dropship descended toward a rocky plateau 3 clicks from the facility. Blue team deploy. Imagine this, the raw, disciplined power of a Spartan 2 super soldier meeting the unwavering loyalty and combat prowess of a free Jaffa warrior. Today, we're diving into a crossover scenario that pits 2 of science fiction's most iconic warrior cultures against a common, formidable enemy, the Goa'uld. Our story begins not in the halls of the SGC or on the bridge of the Pillar of Autumn, but on a desolate, forgotten world where the sins of the Goa'uld fester in secret. Deep within a hidden system, the Goa'uld system Lord Malak has established a massive cloning facility. His goal? To create an endless army of loyal Jaffa, bred for obedience and fanatical devotion, bypassing the need for larval implantation and the risk of rebellion. This facility is a fortress, shielded by advanced energy barriers and patrolled by legions of his most elite Horus guards. For the Free Jaffa nation, this represents an existential threat, a perversion of their very being. For the UNSC, who stumbled upon this system through a slip-space anomaly. It's a potential strategic nightmare, a new, technologically advanced enemy with a seemingly infinite army. Our story starts with Teal'c, the legendary warrior and leader within the Free Jaffa. He's leading a small reconnaissance force, consisting of himself, Bratak, and a handful of veteran Jaffa. Their mission is to scout the facility's defenses, but they are quickly overwhelmed. Malak's forces are far more numerous and better equipped than anticipated. Pinned down, with communications jammed and their position about to be overrun, all hope seems lost. That's when the sky tears open. Not with the familiar flash of a hyperspace window, but with a silent, precise rupture in spacetime. A single UNSC Pelican gunship, the stalwart Dawn, drops from the anomaly. Aboard is a fire team of 4 Spartanese: Master Chief Petty Officer John 117, Frederick 104, Kelly 087, and Linda 058. They were on a long-range patrol when their slip-space jump was violently interrupted, pulling them into this unknown reality. Their AI, Cortana, quickly assesses the situation. Unknown hostiles, advanced energy weapons, and a group of allied combatants pinned down. Orders are simple: neutralize the immediate threat, secure the allied forces, and gather intel. The Pelican's ramp drops, and what the Jaffa witness is a sight of pure, terrifying efficiency. The Spartans, clad in their half-ton Mjolnir armor, move with a speed and grace that defies their size. Fred leads the charge with a Spartan laser, carving a molten path through the Horus Guard ranks. Kelly, a blur of motion, closes the distance in seconds, her shotgun clearing a path with brutal efficiency. Linda, from a high vantage point, takes out key targets, weapon emplacements, commanders, with impossible precision from her sniper rifle. And then there's the Master Chief. He is the anchor, the fulcrum of the assault, moving with an almost precognitive sense of the battlefield. His assault rifle a constant, rhythmic drumbeat of death. Teal'c and Bratak can only watch in stunned amazement. These newcomers are not Jaffa, not Tori. They fight like demons, their armor deflecting staff weapon blasts that would vaporize an unshielded warrior. Seeing their chance, the Jaffa rally. Teal'c lets out a powerful war cry and charges, his staff weapon blazing. The combined force of Spartan and Jaffa is devastating. The Horus Guards, accustomed to being the apex predators, are now caught between the unyielding shield wall of the Jaffa and the lightning-fast surgical strikes of the Spartans. The perimeter is broken. In the brief lull that follows, introductions are made. Cortana facilitates communication, translating languages and bridging the massive technological and cultural gap. Teal'c, ever stoic, shows a rare glimmer of awe. He explains the nature of the Goa'uld, the cloning facility, and the threat it poses. The chief, ever pragmatic, understands the strategic imperative. Malak cannot be allowed to build this army. An alliance is forged not through lengthy treaties, but through mutual respect earned in the crucible of combat. The plan is a two-pronged assault. Bratak will lead the Jaffa in a diversionary frontal attack, drawing the bulk of Malak's forces to the main gates. This is a role the Jaffa understand and embrace: to stand and fight, to be the unbreakable wall. Meanwhile, the Spartans, with their stealth capabilities and specialized equipment, will infiltrate the facility's core. Their objective: locate the primary cloning matrix and the central power generator and plant a Havok tactical nuke. Cortana will interface with the Goa'uld systems, a task she finds disgustingly primitive but manageable, to lower shields and open pathways. The assault begins. Bratak and his warriors unleash a furious barrage, their battle cries echoing across the plains. The Horus Guards respond, pouring out of the fortress to meet them. It's a glorious, brutal fight, staff weapons clashing, energy blasts lighting up the sky. This is the distraction the Spartans need. Kelly uses her speed to create sensor ghosts, drawing patrols away from their infiltration point. Fred and Linda provide overwatch, eliminating sentries from hundreds of meters away. The chief, moving like a shadow, breaches the outer wall with a localized plasma charge. Inside, the facility is a chilling testament to Goa'uld arrogance. Thousands of cloning pods stretch into the darkness, each containing a developing Jaffa. The air is thick with the hum of machinery and the faint, unsettling scent of chemicals. Cortana guides them through the labyrinthine corridors, disabling security systems and unlocking doors just moments before they arrive. They encounter heavy resistance. Cull warriors, the Goa'uld's bioengineered super soldiers, are deployed. This is where the Spartans' true strength is tested. A Coal warrior's armor is nearly impervious to staff weapons. But it's not impervious to a Spartan laser. Fred holds a corridor, forcing the Coal warriors into a bottleneck where Linda can target the minuscule gaps in their armor. The chief engages one hand-to-hand. It's a contest of titans. The Coal warrior is immensely strong, but the chief is faster, smarter, and has decades more combat experience. He uses the Coal's own momentum against it, disabling its weapon arm before planting a series of high-explosive charges directly onto its helmet. The resulting explosion clears the way. They reach the power core. It's a massive, pulsating orb of energy, suspended in a magnetic field. The cloning matrix is directly above it, a delicate and complex piece of machinery. While Fred and Linda hold the entrance against swarms of Jaffa guards, the chief moves to plant the Havoc nuke. Cortana fights her own battle, dueling with Malak's crude but surprisingly resilient security AI, overriding lockdown protocols and holding the path open for their exfiltration. The nuke is armed. The timer is set. 10 minutes. Their retreat is a running gunfight. Alarms blare. The entire facility is on high alert. They link back up with Kelly, who has been single-handedly sowing chaos throughout the base's command structure. Outside, the Jaffa are being pushed back, but they have bought the time needed. The Spartans burst from the facility, linking up with Teal'c's battered but unbroken forces. They fight their way back to the Pelican's landing zone, a whirlwind of green armor and gold trim. As the Pelican's ramp lifts, Master Chief and Teal share a final look. It's a look of understanding between warriors. No words are needed. The Pelican ascends, punching through the atmosphere just as the Goa'uld facility below erupts in a silent, blinding flash of white light. The shockwave rattles the gunship, but it holds firm. On the ground, the remaining Horus guards, their command structure shattered and their purpose gone, are routed by the triumphant Jaffa. The stalwart Dawn returns to the spatial anomaly, its mission complete. The Spartans leave behind a grateful and newly empowered free Jaffa nation and take with them the knowledge of a new, dangerous galaxy. This single, explosive encounter changed the course of 2 universes. It proved that even against impossible odds, true warriors, no matter their origin, will always find a way to fight, to win, and to stand together against tyranny. Chief planted demolition charges on the cloning tank's power systems, while Fred secured the chamber's entrance against Coal reinforcements. They threw themselves at the Spartans with mechanical persistence. Each Coal that fell took concentrated fire to bring down. Their armor absorbed punishment that would destroy vehicles, and regeneration systems sealed wounds even as bullets tore through synthetic flesh. Their weapons forced even Spartans to respect their threat. Charges set, Chief reported. Blue team, extract now. The Spartans withdrew in perfect coordination, covering each other's movements while Jaffa warriors provided suppressing fire. This kept enemy forces pinned long enough for the demolition to arm. They reached the breach point as facility alarms screamed warnings about imminent power core failures, and Chief triggered the charges remotely. The explosion tore through the mountain facility with devastating force. Cloning tanks ruptured, power systems cascaded into failure, and Anubis's super soldier program suffered a blow that would take months to recover from. The Pelican swooped in through smoke and debris, its rear hatch open. Spartans and Jaffa warriors scrambled aboard under covering fire from the dropship's chin-mounted guns. As the Pelican pulled away from the burning facility, Bratak looked at Chief with an expression that transcended cultural boundaries. It was respect warrior recognizing warrior, human acknowledging human, soldier honoring soldier through the ancient rites of shared combat and victory earned in blood. "You have proven your worth, Master Chief," the ancient Jaffa said. "The free Jaffa will stand with the UNSC. Together, we will show the false gods what humanity has become when freed from their chains." Chief removed his helmet, meeting Bratak's eyes with his own. "Together," he agreed. And in orbit above, watching through Infinity's sensors, Captain Lasky smiled. The alliance was no longer theoretical. It was forged in the fire of combat, and it was going to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The System Lord's Council Chamber existed in a pocket of space accessible only through heavily guarded stargates and hyperspace coordinates known to a select few. Lord Yu's ancient Hatak mothership served as neutral ground. Here the most powerful Goa'uld in the galaxy gathered to discuss matters that affected them. All territorial disputes, threats from ascended beings, and now the unprecedented arrival of a human military force that had destroyed one of Anubis' facilities with contemptuous ease. Goa'uld materialized through the Asgard-derived transport rings with characteristic flair. His host body was chosen for its aristocratic bearing, and his expression radiated the smug superiority of a Goa'uld, who believed himself the cleverest predator in the galaxy. He took his position at the circular table, nodding acknowledgement to the holographic projections of system lords who declined to attend in person: Olakon, Morrigan, and others whose paranoia exceeded their curiosity. Lord Yu entered with the measured steps of the galaxy's oldest living system lord. His elderly host body showed the wear of millennia, even with sarcophagus rejuvenation. His eyes, still sharp despite his body's age, studied each attendee with the assessment of someone who'd outlived countless rivals through wisdom and caution. Anubis' presence dominated the chamber despite appearing only as a holographic projection, a cloaked figure whose features remained hidden within shadow. His voice carried the dual tones of Goa'uld possession, mixed with something darker, something that resonated with half-ascended power that defied conventional reality. "You summoned this council, Anubis," Goa'uld began, his tone carrying barely disguised mockery. "To discuss your recent setback? How refreshing to see you admit weakness. I thought you believed yourself beyond such mortal concerns as military defeat." The temperature in the chamber dropped several degrees as Anubis' hologram turned toward Goa'uld. "Mock me at your peril. Goa'uld, the force that destroyed my facility represents a threat to all system lords, or an opportunity for those wise enough to seize it. The Tory have revealed they possess allies from beyond our galaxy, warriors with technology and capabilities we have not encountered before." Lord Yu's ancient voice carried the weight of experience. "The Asgard have protected the Tory for years. This is known. What makes these new arrivals significant beyond the Protected Planets Treaty that already shields Earth from our aggression?" Anubis gestured, and the holographic display at the chamber center shifted to show footage captured by surveillance devices during the raid on his facility. The system lords watched in silence as armored warriors, humans, unmistakably human despite their enhanced capabilities, moved through Goa'uld defenses with precision that made veteran Jaffa look clumsy. Coal warriors that had been designed to be unstoppable fell to weapons fire that punched through armor with ease. Energy barriers that could withstand sustained staff weapon bombardment burned away like paper. "These are not Asgard," Anubis stated. "These are humans, Tory, or related subspecies equipped with technology centuries beyond what Earth has demonstrated previously. They call themselves UNSC, and they arrived through the Stargate in a fleet of 30 warships that my spies report could destroy our attacks with single weapons discharges." Goa'uld leaned forward, his interest no longer feigned. "You're suggesting Earth has been hiding advanced military capabilities? That seems unlikely. The Tory have been scavenging our technology for years, barely surviving encounters with our forces through luck and Asgard intervention." "Not hiding," Anubis corrected. "Receiving reinforcements from an alternate timeline or parallel dimension. My intelligence is unclear on the specifics, but the result is the same. Earth now possesses military assets that fundamentally alter the balance of power. If we allow the Tory to consolidate this alliance, they will become a threat to System Lord dominion over the galaxy." Lord Yu's expression showed calculation rather than concern. "Or they could be manipulated into eliminating our rivals. Anubis, you have long been a destabilizing force among the System Lords with your half-ascended knowledge and forbiddance technologies. Perhaps these UNSC forces represent an opportunity to rebalance the Council's power structure." The threat hung in the air. "You suggesting that the other system lords might ally with Earth to eliminate Anubis, using UNSC firepower to destroy the most dangerous Goa'uld while protecting their own territories." It was exactly the kind of political maneuvering that had kept the system lords divided for millennia. Aboard UNSC Infinity, Cortana listened to every word through infiltration of the Goa'uld communication network. Her intrusion into their systems had taken 18 hours of processing time and exploitation of security vulnerabilities that would have made ONI's best cyber warfare specialists jealous. But the payoff was complete access to System Lord's strategic communications. "Chief, you need to hear this," Cortana said, her avatar appearing on the holographic display in Infinity's war room, where the Spartan stood with Captain Lasky, General Hammond, and SG-1. The council chamber's audio played through the speakers. and the assembled personnel listened to system lords debating whether to unite against Earth or use the UNSC to eliminate rivals. O'Neill's expression cycled through disbelief, anger, and weary recognition. This was exactly how the Goa'uld operated, turning every crisis into an opportunity for backstabbing. "They're treating us like a weapon they can aim at their enemies," Carter observed. "They don't see the UNSC as an independent force, they see it as a tool to be controlled or neutralized." "Standard tyrannical oligarchy behavior," Lasky replied. "The insurrectionists used to think they could manipulate UNSC forces into fighting each other while they consolidated power. They learned otherwise. The Goa'uld will too." Chief watched Anubis's hologram on the display, his tactical mind analyzing the half-ascended Goa'uld's body language and vocal patterns for intelligence about capabilities and intentions. This was the primary threat, a being with ancient knowledge and resources to develop superweapons that could threaten entire worlds. Eliminating Anubis would weaken the System Lord's most dangerous member while demonstrating UNSC resolve. "He's planning something," Chief stated. "His tone suggests this council is theater. He's already decided his response to our presence. And he's using the other System Lords to gather intelligence about their reactions." Cortana's processing cycles spiked as she analyzed the data streams flowing through Goa'uld networks. "You're right, Chief. I'm detecting encrypted communications between Anubis and his fleet commander's orders being issued for fleet concentration in a sector designated as off-limits to other System Lords. He's massing forces for a major operation. Against Earth?" Hammond demanded, his command instincts immediately focused on the threat to his planet. "Unknown, but probable," Cortana admitted. His communications reference, eliminating the UNSC threat before it can entrench and acquiring samples for study and replication. "Sir, I think Anubis wants to capture UNSC technology, specifically Spartans, to augment his Cull Warrior program. He's not trying to destroy us. He's trying to harvest us." The war room fell silent as the implications settled. The Covenant had tried to capture Spartans for study early in the war, hoping to understand what made them so effective and replicate those capabilities. Those attempts had ended badly for the Covenant, but they learned that Spartans would rather die than allow themselves to become test subjects for enemy experimentation. Daniel's academic mind engaged despite the tactical horror of the situation. Anubis already tried to ascend once and failed, leaving him stuck between human and energy being. If he got access to Spartan augmentation technology and combined it with his ancient knowledge, he could create something worse than the Cull Warriors. He could create warriors with actual tactical intelligence, enhanced beyond any human standard, loyal to him absolutely. "That's not happening," Fred stated flatly. Blue Team stood together near the tactical display, their body language radiating the absolute certainty of soldiers who heard this threat before and dealt with it decisively. Anyone who tries to capture Spartans for experimentation learns the same lesson the Covenant did: we don't get captured. Teal'c, who'd been observing silently from his position with Bratak, spoke with the gravity of someone who understood exactly what Anubis was capable of. "The half-ascended one must be stopped before he can execute his plans. If he successfully creates enhanced warriors using your technology, the Jaffa rebellion will face enemies we cannot defeat. The Free Jaffa have overcome Goa'uld advantages through numbers, tactics, and the knowledge that we fight for freedom rather than slavery. Against warriors as capable as Spartans but enslaved to Anubis's will, we would be slaughtered." Bratak nodded agreement. "Master Chief, you understand warfare against enemies who possess technological superiority. You have said the UNSC defeated such foes through asymmetric tactics and targeting leadership. Anubis is the head of the serpent. If he is destroyed, his forces will scatter or be absorbed by other System Lords who lack his vision and capabilities. Assassination mission," Kelly said immediately, her tactical instincts already running operational planning. "Deep penetration, locate Anubis's flagship, eliminate target, extract before his fleet can respond. Standard Spartan operation profile." O'Neill looked at the Spartans like they just suggested something insane, which, from his perspective, they had. "You want to infiltrate a System Lord's mothership, kill a half-ascended being with access to ancient weapons, and escape from the middle of his fleet? We've tried to kill Anubis before. It didn't work. He regenerates, he has personal shields that can withstand direct hits from staff cannons, and his ship has defenses that make Area 51 look accessible." "Colonel O'Neill is correct," Cortana interjected. "However, his assessment is based on conventional assault tactics using Goa'uld-level technology. UNSC insertion protocols are significantly more sophisticated. Chief, if we can locate Anubis's flagship and get a Pelican within range, I can hack their shield harmonics and create a window for infiltration. Once inside, Spartans have successfully eliminated hardened targets in hostile environments hundreds of times. Lasky studied the stellar cartography data Cortana was compiling. The challenge is locating the flagship without alerting Anubis's fleet. If he detects Infinity's sensor sweeps, he'll know we're hunting him and go to ground. We need intelligence from sources he won't suspect are compromised. The Tok'ra, Carter suggested. They have operatives embedded throughout the System Lord's organizations. If Anubis is concentrating his fleet, Tok'ra intelligence will have tracked the movement. Jacob, my father, could provide the data without exposing his network. Hammond's expression showed the conflict between commander and protector. Major, you re-suggesting we ask your father to provide intelligence that will send Spartans on what might be a one-way mission to assassinate the most dangerous Goa'uld in the galaxy. If this operation fails, Anubis will know we're actively hunting him, and he'll accelerate whatever timeline he's working on. If we don't act, he'll harvest UNSC technology and create super soldiers we'll have to fight for decades, Chief replied. Sir, I've spent 30 years conducting high-risk operations behind enemy lines. This mission profile is exactly what Spartans were designed for. Get us the intelligence, and we'll handle the rest. The System Lord Council's audio feed shifted as Anubis concluded his theatrical performance for the other Goa'uld. I will deal with the UNSC threat personally. When I return, it will be with their technology integrated into my forces and their warriors captured for study. Earth will fall, the Tari will serve, and those System Lords wise enough to ally with me will share in the spoils. Those who oppose me will be eliminated, the hologram disconnected, leaving the other System Lords to debate whether to support or undermine Anubis's plans. Baal's expression suggested he was already calculating how to profit from whatever Anubis attempted, while Lord Yu's ancient eyes showed the weariness of someone who'd seen this pattern play out countless times across millennia. He's committed to action, Lasky observed. Which means we need to move first. General Hammond, I'm formally requesting authorization to conduct offensive operations against Anubis's command structure. This goes beyond defensive protection of Earth. We're talking about preemptive strike to eliminate a threat before it can materialize. Hammond was silent for a long moment, the weight of command settling on shoulders that had carried it through years of impossible decisions. He'd sent soldiers to die before, authorized missions that might trigger intergalactic war, made choices that haunted him but that were necessary to protect Earth. This was another such choice. Authorization granted, Hammond said finally. Master Chief, you have permission to conduct black operations against Anubis with objective of eliminating his command capability. Major Carter, coordinate with the Tok'ra for intelligence. Captain Lasky, provide whatever support the Spartans need. And Colonel O'Neill, he looked at Jack with the expression of a commander who knew exactly what he was asking. SG-1 will provide backup extraction if the operation goes sideways. Because it always goes sideways. Indeed it does, sir, O'Neill replied. Indeed it does. Chief turned to the blue team and no words were necessary. They'd conducted assassination missions against Covenant leadership, infiltrated ships kilometers long, fought through enemy forces with no backup and no extraction guaranteed. This was just another mission, another target, another day being Spartans. Cortana, begin operational planning, Chief ordered. Find me Anubis's flagship. We're going hunting. In the shadows of space, Anubis's Hadak mothership prepared for war. Its master sat in meditation, channeling the half-ascended power that made him more than Goa'uld but less than ancient, contemplating the UNSC forces that had dared challenge his supremacy. He would dissect their Spartans, reverse-engineer their technology, and prove once again that he was the rightmost heir to the ancients' legacy. He had no idea that humanity's most lethal soldiers were already planning his death. And by the time he realized the threat, it would be too late. The coordinates Jacob Carter provided through Tok'ra intelligence channels led to a system on the edge of controlled space, a binary star configuration that played havoc with long-range sensors and provided natural concealment for fleet concentrations. Anubis had chosen well. His flagship, a modified Hatak designated as the Abydos' Bane in Goa'uld records, sat at the center of a defensive formation comprising 12 motherships, 40 Al-Kesh bombers, and enough death gliders to darken a planet's sky. The Pelican approached from the system's asteroid belt, its active camouflage engaged and its reactor signature reduced to background radiation levels that Goa'uld sensors would dismiss as stellar noise. Chief stood in the troop bay with Blue Team, each Spartan conducting final equipment checks in the methodical silence of soldiers who'd done this hundreds of times. Their armor's active camouflage systems were set to maximum, their weapons loaded with ammunition optimized for close-quarters combat and shipboard environments, and their mission parameters were crystal clear: infiltrate, locate Anubis, eliminate target, extract, Cortana, status on shield penetration. Chief asked, watching the tactical display show Anubis's flagship growing larger as the Pelican closed distance. The AIS avatar flickered with intense processing activity. I've analyzed the shield harmonics from 12 different angles using Infinity's passive sensors. Goa'uld shields operate on rotating frequency modulation, impressive for their tech level, but they're cycling through predictable patterns. I can generate a counter frequency that will create a temporary gap lasting approximately 4.3 seconds. That's your insertion window. 4.3 seconds to get 4 Spartans through a shield that's designed to stop incoming fire, Fred observed. Tight but doable. Story of our lives, Kelly added, checking her combat knife's edge with the casual efficiency of someone preparing for close-quarters violence. Linda remained silent, her sniper rifle secured across her back in favor of an MA-5D configured for suppressed fire. Shipboard combat meant close ranges where her long-range precision became less relevant, but her tactical awareness and ability to identify critical targets would be invaluable once they were inside. Captain Reyes's voice came through the intercom. Spartans, we're at optimal insertion range. Anubis's fleet hasn't detected our approach. Their sensor focus is outward, watching for conventional attack vectors. They're not expecting someone crazy enough to fly a dropship through their defensive perimeter. That's because most people value their lives over mission objectives, O'Neill's voice interjected over the comm channel. He was aboard Infinity with SG-1, monitoring the operation from the safety of the battle fleet, positioned 3-0 distant. For the record, I think this plan is insane. But since insane plans are pretty much our specialty, good hunting, Chief, try not to blow up the entire fleet. We'd like to salvage some of those motherships after Anubis is dead. Understood, Colonel? Chief replied. Then switched to Blue Team's private channel. Standard infiltration protocol. Cortana will guide us to Anubis's location. We eliminate any resistance between us and target. Execute primary objective and extract via same entry point. If extraction is compromised, we commandeer a teltac and fight our way clear. Questions? Rules of engagement? Linda asked. Anyone who gets between us and Anubis is hostile. Minimize casualties where possible, but mission success takes priority over enemy survivability. These are Anubis's handpicked guards. They've chosen their side. The Pelican shuddered as it entered the outer range of Anubis's shield perimeter. Cortana's counter-frequency algorithm engaged, and Chief's HUD showed the shield matrix developing a small gap barely 3 meters wide. Lasting 4.3 seconds, positioned exactly where the Pelican would pass through if Reyes's piloting was perfect. It was perfect. The dropship slipped through the shield gap like a knife through silk, its hull missing the resolidifying energy barrier by centimeters. Goa'uld sensor technicians aboard the surrounding motherships didn't even register the intrusion. Their instruments had been flooded with false data that Cortana generated to mask the Pelican's passage, making them see exactly what they expected. Normal shield operations, no anomalies, no threat. Docking with flagship's ventilation system, Reyes reported. You've got access through maintenance shaft 7 beta. Goa'uld ships aren't designed with intrusion countermeasures for their environmental systems. They assume their shields and external defenses are sufficient. Their mistake. The Pelican's magnetic clamps engaged against the Hatak's hull with barely perceptible vibration. The Spartans moved to the airlock, their active camouflage rendering them nearly invisible even in the dropship's interior lighting. Chief triggered the hull breach, a shaped charge that burned through Goa'uld armor plating and exposed the ship as internal atmosphere to vacuum for exactly 1.2 seconds before emergency force fields sealed the breach. Blue Team dropped into the Hatak's maintenance systems, their armor's magnetic boots engaging to provide mobility in the zero-gravity environment. The shaft was narrow, designed for Jaffa maintenance crews, not 7-foot armored soldiers, but Spartans had trained for insertion through spaces that logic said were impassable. They moved through the darkness with tactical precision, their motion trackers painting the ship's internal layout as Cortana hacked into the Hatak's computer network. Anubis's location confirmed, Cortana reported. He's in the throne room 3 decks above your position, surrounded by at least 20 Goa'uld warriors and an unknown number of Jaffa guards. Also detecting energy signatures consistent with ancient technology integrated throughout. The room he has got defensive systems we haven't encountered before. Standard approach won't work, Fred assessed. 20 Goa'uld warriors in prepared defensive positions means we'd be fighting through a meat grinder even with superior weapons. Chief, we need a different angle. Cortana, can you access the ship's internal systems? Gravity, atmosphere, power distribution? The AI's avatar grinned with the expression of someone who'd just been asked to do something delightfully chaotic. Chief, are you thinking what I think you're thinking? Because if you planning to cut life support to the throne room and force Anubis into a position where he looks vulnerable, that's brilliant and terrifying in equal measure. The Goa'uld warriors don't need atmosphere, Linda observed. They're sealed systems. But the Jaffa guards and any human support personnel will be affected. It'll create chaos we can exploit. Do it, Chief ordered. Cortana's infiltration of the Hatak's systems was surgical. She isolated the throne room's environmental controls, rerouted power from non-essential systems, and triggered a cascading failure that made it look like battle damage from a weapon's malfunction rather than sabotage. Alarms began wailing throughout the ship as atmosphere vented from the throne room. Gravity fluctuated wildly and emergency lighting kicked in to replace the main power systems. Blue Team moved through the chaos like armored ghosts. They emerged from maintenance shafts into corridors filled with Jaffa warriors rushing to respond to the emergency, their staff weapons raised. But their attention focused on the apparent crisis rather than the nearly invisible soldiers moving through their ranks. Chief's combat knife claimed 2 guards before they realized they were under attack. Linda's suppressed rifle dropped 3 more with headshots that were silent enough to avoid raising general alarm, and Kelly disabled a Goa'uld warrior Zest power systems with a thermite charge applied directly to its back-mounted core. The throne room's entrance lay ahead, massive doors carved with Goa'uld hieroglyphs depicting Anubis's claimed divinity. Through his armor sensors, Chief detected the half-ascended being beyond, his energy signature blazing like a beacon that made normal Goa'uld look like candles beside a sun. This was the target. Everything else was obstacle. Breaching, Fred announced, slapping a shaped charge on the door's locking mechanism. The explosion tore through Goa'uld metallurgy and sent the doors slamming inward, revealing the throne room beyond. Anubis sat upon his throne, a figure cloaked in black robes that concealed his half-ascended form, his hands gripping armrests that integrated ancient control systems. The throne room's floor was littered with Jaffa guards struggling in the zero-gravity and thin atmosphere, their training inadequate for environmental failure. Goa'uld warriors stood at attention around the throne, their sealed armor unaffected by the life support failure, their shoulder cannons tracking toward the breach point. Intruders! Anubis's dual-toned voice resonated through the chamber, amplified by technology and power that transcended normal Goa'uld capabilities. You dare assault my flagship? I am beyond your mortal weapons, beyond death itself. You cannot kill what has already ascended. Chief didn't bother responding. Spartans weren't known for dramatic speeches. They were known for completing missions. Blue Team opened fire. The Goa'uld warriors returned fire with staff cannons that tore through the throne room with plasma blasts hot enough to melt bulkheads. Chief's shields flared and held, absorbing impacts while he advanced with his assault rifle, delivering controlled bursts that exploited the weak points in Goa'uld armor. Fred flanked right, his grenades detonating among the warriors with concussive force that disrupted their formations. Kelly became a blur of motion in the zero-gravity, using the environment to her advantage as she bounced between surfaces and struck from impossible angles. Linda's rifle cracked with precision that turned Goa'uld power cores into catastrophic failures. Anubis rose from his throne, and the ancient technology integrated into the room responded to his will. Energy barriers sprang into existence, channeling the Spartans' movements into kill zones. Automated defense turrets emerged from the walls, their weapons tracking with ancient precision that made Goa'uld targeting look primitive. The half-ascended being raised his hands, and power crackled between his fingers, not staff weapon plasma, but something that resonated with the ascension energy of beings who transcended physical form. The blast struck Chief center mass with force that overloaded his shields instantly and sent him slamming into the bulkhead hard enough to dent the armor plating. His HUD lit up with damage warning, shields down, Armor integrity at 70%. Medical systems reporting bruised ribs and minor internal bleeding. He'd survived worse. Your armor is impressive, Anubis observed, approaching with the confidence of a being who believed himself invincible. Your weapons exceed Goa'uld standards. Your tactics demonstrate training beyond anything the Tari should possess. I will enjoy dissecting you to discover your secrets, Spartan. You will serve me in death as you refuse to serve in life. Chief's hand closed around a plasma grenade UNSC ordnance designed to combat Covenant energy shields. Now repurposed against a half-ascended Goa'uld who'd forgotten that hubris killed more surely than any weapon. Cortana, target analysis. His ascension energy is concentrated in his upper torso, probably where he is maintaining the connection between his physical and energy forms. The AI replied instantly. A disruption to that concentration might force him to choose between maintaining physical manifestation or ascending fully, and full ascension would trigger ancient rules that prohibit interference. Chief, if you can hit him hard enough, you might force him to abandon this form. Good enough. Chief threw the plasma grenade. Anubis raised his hand dismissively, expecting to deflect the primitive explosive with ascension power. The grenade detonated 3 meters from him, and superheated plasma expanded outward at temperatures that briefly mimicked stellar fusion. The energy didn't just burn, it disrupted, interfering with the delicate balance Anubis maintained between matter and energy, between Goa'uld and ancient, between physical god and ascended being. The half-ascended Goa'uld screamed a sound that transcended normal acoustics and resonated on frequencies that made Chief's armor sensors spike with warnings. Anubis's form flickered, the black robes revealing glimpses of the twisted amalgamation beneath. Flesh and energy warring for dominance as the plasma disruption forced him to choose. He chose wrong. Anubis tried to maintain physical form and channel ascension energy simultaneously. The strain broke something fundamental in his hybrid existence. His body began to dissolve, not into pure energy like successful ascension, but into a chaotic mess of matter and force that screamed violation of natural law. Linda's sniper rifle spoke once, a single 14.5mm round that crossed the throne room and struck Anubis's physical form and what remained of his head. The round didn't kill a half-ascended being, but it didn't need to. It provided the final disruption that shattered Anubis's concentration completely. The Goa'uld physical form exploded into energy that cascaded through the throne room with force that sent warriors flying and tore ancient systems from the walls. Where Anubis had stood, only smoking robes remained, and a fading energy signature that suggested the being had been forcibly ascended incomplete, damaged, and likely subject to ancient judgment for his violations of ascension protocols. Target eliminated, Chief reported, his voice calm despite the chaos. Blue team, extract now. The Spartans fought their way back through corridors filled with Jaffa warriors who'd realized their god was gone and their ship was falling apart. Without Anubis's control, the ancient systems integrated throughout the Hatak began failing catastrophically, their power feeds destabilizing and cascading through the vessel's infrastructure. The Pelican was waiting at the breach point, Reyes maintaining position, despite Goa'uld forces finally realizing they'd been infiltrated. Blue team reached the dropship and scrambled aboard as the Hataka's power core began its terminal overload sequence. The Pelican's engines flared, ripping the craft away from the dying mothership as Cortana spoofed the shield harmonics one final time to create an exit vector. Behind them, Anubis's flagship exploded in a cascade of energy that would have been visible from planetary orbit. The surrounding Goa'uld fleet dissolved into chaos as commanders fought to assert control, claim leadership, or simply flee from what their sensors reported as an impossible catastrophe. Aboard Infinity, the war room erupted in controlled celebration as telemetry confirmed the mission's success. Hammond's expression showed relief warring with disbelief that 4 soldiers had just assassinated the most dangerous being in the galaxy. O'Neill was grinning like someone who just watched the impossible become reality. Carter was already analyzing the data. The Pelican docked with Infinity, and Blue Team emerged to find themselves greeted by personnel who looked at Spartans with new understanding. These weren't just enhanced soldiers. These were the people you sent when gods needed killing. Chief removed his helmet and met Hammond's eyes. Mission accomplished, sir. Anubis is eliminated. Master Chief, Hammond said simply, you just changed the balance of power in this galaxy. The system lords are going to tear themselves apart fighting over Anubis's territory. The Jaffa rebellion just lost their greatest enemy, and Earth just proved that humanity can stand against Beings who claim divinity. It's what we do, sir, Chief replied. Spartans don't believe in gods. We believe in completing the mission. And across the galaxy, the Goa'uld system lords heard the news and felt fear for the first time in millennia. We've been watching your people work for 3 weeks now. The way your Spartans integrated with the Jaffa, how your fleet coordinates. With our satellites and defense platforms, the respect Lasky shows for our operational experience, even though his technology is centuries ahead. That builds trust faster than any formal agreement. You're not conquerors. You're allies who actually mean it. Carter pulled up sensor data on the main display. The real question is what happens next. Anubis is gone, but the Goa'uld aren't defeated. Baal is consolidating power, and he's smarter than most system lords. He'll adapt to UNSC capabilities instead of blindly attacking. The Ori invasion that our intelligence suggests is coming will make the Goa'uld look like a minor nuisance. And we still don't know what pulled your fleet through that anomaly or whether more forces might follow. The Ori concern me, Daniel added, adjusting his glasses in that nervous gesture that meant he'd been researching something disturbing. They're ascended beings like the ancients, but they've weaponized faith itself. Their priors can perform miracles that look like magic but are actually advanced manipulation of reality. Their ships are nearly indestructible. And they coming to this galaxy with the explicit goal of converting or exterminating every human civilization they encounter. Chief's tactical mind engaged with the threat assessment, running simulations against an enemy that possessed technology beyond conventional physics. Cortana, analysis on combating ascended beings, limited data, but preliminary assessment suggests ascended beings operate under strict rules about interference in lower planes. The AI replied. Anubis broke those rules and got forcibly judged for it. The Ori circumvent the rules by working through mortal agents, their priors, and their human followers. If we can disrupt their mortal infrastructure, we might be able to slow their invasion without directly engaging the ascended Ori themselves. Teal'c had been silent throughout the briefing, but his voice carried weight when he finally spoke. The Jaffa Free Nation owes a debt to the UNSC that can never be fully repaid. Master Chief and the Spartans fought beside us, proved that the false gods could be defeated, and inspired warriors across the galaxy to claim their freedom. When the Ori come, and they will, the Jaffa will stand with Earth and the UNSC against this new threat. Bratak appeared via holographic communication. The ancient warrior's image transmitted from a liberated world where he was coordinating Jaffa military forces. Indeed, young Teal'c speaks truth. The Free Jaffa have fought for generations to free our people from slavery. We will not surrender that freedom to new gods, ascended or otherwise. Master Chief, when you have need of Jaffa warriors, you need only call. We will answer. Fred, Kelly, and Linda stood at attention near Chief, their presence a silent reminder that Blue Team remained ready for whatever mission came next. They'd eliminated Anubis, survived combat against Coal warriors, and proven that Spartans could operate effectively in a galaxy that ran on ancient technology and impossible physics. But their expressions showed what every veteran soldier knew: one victory didn't mean the war was over. The spatial anomaly that brought us here remains unexplained, Lasky observed, bringing the conversation back to the fundamental mystery of UNSC presence in this reality. Our scientists have been studying the wormhole signatures, and they believe it was artificially created using technology that exceeds even ancient capabilities. Someone or something wanted us here, positioned us specifically to arrive during a crisis point, and gave us the opportunity to fundamentally alter this galaxy's political structure. The ancients? Carter suggested. They're ascended. They have the power to manipulate reality on that scale, and they have a history of subtle manipulation when they think it serves the greater good. Or something older, Daniel countered. The ancients aren't the first evolution. There were civilizations before them, races that ascended and moved beyond even that state. What if something truly ancient decided humanity needed reinforcements and reached across dimensional barriers to provide them? Chief considered that possibility while his tactical instincts flagged it as speculation beyond available data. The why of their arrival mattered less than the reality they now faced. UNSC forces were in a new galaxy, surrounded by allies who needed them and enemies who threatened human survival. It was a situation Spartans understood at a fundamental level. Regardless of how we got here, Chief said, we're here now. The UNSC will honor our commitments to Earth's defense and the alliance we've built with the Tok'ra, Jaffa, and Asgard. When the Ori arrive, they'll find humanity ready, united across dimensions, armed with the combined technology of multiple civilizations, and led by soldiers who've spent decades learning how to fight enemies that claim divinity. 3 weeks ago, I was just a general, commanding a facility that defended Earth through sheer luck and desperation, always one crisis away from total extinction. Today, I'm part of an alliance that stretches across galaxies, an alliance that includes the most advanced military force humanity has ever produced. The Goa'uld are collapsing, the Jaffa are free, and when the Ori finally come, we'll face them together. I don't know what force brought you here, Master Chief, but I'm incredibly grateful it did. General, we're grateful too. The UNSC spent 3 long decades fighting the Covenant, living with the constant fear that humanity's next day might be its last. Here, we have the chance to prevent that same fate for another branch of humanity. We have a chance to build something better than just survival. And that's something worth fighting for. All right, people, listen up. The system lords are busy tearing each other apart. The Jaffa are liberating worlds left and right. And we've got about 6 months before the Oris show up with their sanctimonious ascended attitude and their ships that make our Hattaks look like little toys. So, I suggest we spend that time wisely. We need to integrate UNSC technology with our existing defenses. We need to train joint operations between our SG teams and your Spartan units, and most importantly, we need to prepare to introduce our new friends to the ancient human tradition of making gods deeply regret picking fights with us. The briefing room emptied as everyone dispersed to their new assignments. Carter headed off to coordinate with UNSC engineers, a monumental task of technology integration. Daniel began compiling every scrap of intelligence he could find on Ori capabilities and their potential weaknesses. Teal'c took on the crucial role of liaison with the Free Jaffa Nation, bridging the gap between our forces and their newly independent warriors. And O'Neill, well, he would continue commanding SG-1 in the field, because no matter how big the strategy gets, the boots on the ground never stop moving. But the Master Chief remained. He and Blue Team stayed behind, reviewing mission parameters that Cortana was compiling from a dozen different sources. The future was clear. There would be more gates to step through, more unknown enemies to face, and more missions where impossible odds demanded a Spartan solution. This new galaxy was vast, filled with threats that ranged from parasitic false gods to ascended beings with entire armies at their command. It was a daunting prospect. But as the chief looked at his team, at the soldiers who'd stood with him through 30 years of relentless war, through the devastating fall of Reach and the desperate battle for Earth, through every single impossible mission that had forged the very legend of the Spartans, he felt something that might have been confidence. They had faced extinction before and survived. They had fought technologically superior enemies and won. They had eliminated beings that claimed godhood and proved time and again that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its technology or its firepower. It was our stubborn refusal to surrender, even when survival seemed utterly impossible. The Stargate's chevrons would lock again, opening paths to new worlds and new, unforeseen challenges. The UNSC fleet would stand watch over Earth, a silent, powerful guardian, ready to defend humanity's home regardless of which timeline it came from. And somewhere out there, in the vast, uncaring galaxy, enemies that had terrorized civilizations for millennia would learn the same lesson the Covenant had learned before them. They would learn that when humanity decides to fight, when soldiers like the Spartans stand together with allies willing to risk everything for freedom, even gods can fall. The mission continued. The war was far from over. But for the first time in longer than the chief could remember, humanity wasn't fighting alone. The arrival of UNSC forces in the Stargate universe had fundamentally altered the balance of power, sending ripples across the entire galaxy. The Master Chief and Blue Team's successful assassination of Anubis removed the most immediate existential threat. But it did something more. It demonstrated that even a half-ascended being, a creature of immense power, could be defeated through superior tactics and flawless coordination. This victory forged an unprecedented alliance. UNSC Command, Stargate Command, the Free Jaffa Nation, the Tok'ra Resistance, and even the Asgard. For the first time in this galaxy's history, a unified human coalition stood together. As the remaining Goa'uld system lords tore each other apart, fighting like vultures over Anubis's crumbling territories, Earth consolidated its position. It was no longer a primitive, backwater world ripe for the picking. It was now a protected fortress, backed by military capabilities that exceeded anything the parasitic false gods could ever hope to counter. The Jaffa rebellion, seeing that their gods could bleed and die, gained incredible momentum. World after world was liberated, their warriors inspired by a newfound hope. The Tok'ra, our covert allies, found their infiltration missions becoming easier as the system lords grew paranoid and suspicious, dividing their attention between external threats and the betrayals brewing within their own ranks. But as one shadow receded, another, far larger one, loomed on the horizon. The Ori Crusade was coming. These were ascended beings with armies of fanatical followers and weapons that could sterilize entire worlds in an instant. And the mystery of the anomaly that brought the UNSC across dimensional barriers remained unsolved. This suggested the existence of powers that operated beyond even the comprehension of the ancients, a thought that was both terrifying and humbling. Somewhere in the vast, silent darkness between galaxies, other threats stirred, ancient and patient, watching humanity's sudden ascension with an interest that boded neither good nor ill. Master Chief stood ready for whatever came next. His Spartans were at his side, and a network of allies spanning galaxies backed Earth's defense. The mission parameters had evolved. It was no longer about simple survival. It had become something far more ambitious. Not just defending humanity, but actively building a future where our civilization could thrive across multiple realities. It was a mission with no clear endpoint, a war that might last for generations. But it was a mission worth fighting for. The Stargate's chevrons would continue to lock, opening paths to new worlds where threats and opportunities waited in equal measure. The UNSC fleet would patrol the vast distances between the stars, guardians of an Earth that now belonged to two timelines simultaneously. And through it all, soldiers from both realities would stand together, shoulder to shoulder, proving once again that humanity's greatest strength has never been our technology or our firepower. It's the unbreakable bonds forged in the heat of battle and the absolute refusal to abandon our allies when they need us most. The galaxy had learned a new hard truth. Earth was no longer a target. It was a defended fortress, backed by warriors who had fought the impossible and won. The system lords, the Ori, and whatever other threats decided to emerge from the darkness would find humanity waiting for them, united, prepared, and absolutely unwilling to surrender. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into what could be, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next story. See you next time.